There we go. We're not muted. What is going on, guys? How are y'all doing today? We're going to pop the TikTok live up. We have a nice special guest today, as you can see, just making sure everything looks good. For anyone asking, no, Mike Shady is not on this stream. Apologies. That was last night. Go check out Tuesday's stream if you want to see that. It was a 30-minute interview about a clinic he has coming up. Today, we don't have him, but we do have Luke Rosahl. Luke has been arguably one of the most tenured ball reviewers on YouTube for 10-ish years now. He's reviewed everything at this point. You're seeing all of his videos popping up. So we're going to have him quickly introduce himself quick. But first, I want to do a quick thank you. We have a brand new partner for the channel. Do a nice little pop-up here. Apparel EFX is partnering with the ZVL channel, so huge thank you to all the guys at EFX. You can use code ZVL for 10% off at checkout. There are no jerseys yet, but if you want to use the ZVL logo, you have two different options. Number one, I have patches that I'm selling. So DM me if you want any patches. There's little deals, about $6 each, then gets lower for every 4 or 5 you buy. Otherwise, on my website, zvlbowling.com, you can download my my logo and you can put that on. I think it's about $5-ish to add a logo on EFX. So a lot of fun things there. But without further ado, Luke, how are you doing? Welcome.
We're doing pretty good. We are doing pretty good.
Awesome. We have a lot of people hopping in already, a lot of comments coming in. So this is we don't really have a topic per se today. There's no big new bowling ball releases. The latest announcement we had was the Super Sport. I do want to pick your brain a little bit on that one because I've seen eerily few reviews of that ball, minus EJ and a couple other Motive guys throwing it. So I'd love to hear a little more about that. I don't know why the Motive space just doesn't have that many people making videos on bowling balls. So talk about that a little bit. We've got otherwise a lot of other things going on. I know you guys have a billion bowling ball questions as well, but there's gonna be a lot of Q&A going on. So be ready for that. But Luke, why not tell us a little bit about you for anyone who lives under a rock and doesn't know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, no, I'm just a pro shop guy from Kansas that got started into bowling after I bowled for a couple years when I was 11 or 12, but then I got back into it after high school and it just kind of clicked. And then a couple years after that, I got into a pro shop and was in there for a long time. And when I took over the pro shop about 11, 12 years ago, I got an advisory contract and I just started making videos from a pro shop point of view because I'd have people come in all the time and say, hey, I'm interested in this ball, but all the videos I can find online, there's just a couple of them, or they're all 500 rev rate guys hooking the whole lane set to rock music. Can you help me out? And so when I got on staff, Storm has incentives. If you post videos, if you post reviews, videos, whatever else. And so I'm like, okay, 2 birds with 1 stone. Whenever I drill a ball, I'll just make a video for it. And I never thought that, I mean, obviously YouTube is global, but I just thought, okay, I'm going to make videos to help my customers out. And it just kind of clicked with people. I don't do anything special. I had no idea how to edit, to even, put together thumbnails or anything. And so I taught myself all that stuff doing it along the way. And I think it just kind of resonated with people because I actually would answer questions and talk to people. I wasn't trying to be a content creator or an influencer or whatever. I was just trying to help people out with bowling stuff. And it just kind of took off and here we are.
Yeah, fantastic. We've got a top 10 anime crossover from Bayou. Love that. A lot of people are excited that we are officially doing something together. It's an interesting space, bowling community, especially online. We haven't had many collabs on the channel, but you are arguably like the unbiased guy. Like if anybody remembers you from 5, 6, 7 years ago, I personally clearly remember Storm reviews where you're like, yeah, this one ain't it for me. And that is unheard of. Still in 2026, that's pretty unheard of in the space, just to actually say something that isn't just ball good go by. So being that you've stuck with it, you're now with you're throwing Brunswick stuff now. Well, you're throwing 4 of the Brunswick brands, right?
Yeah, three of them. Okay. I tried to do all 7 of them, but there was just too much stuff, especially when I've got two Storm guys, so every time Storm puts out a ball, I've got two videos there. And then Cliff started sending me swag stuff. I got the Brunswick stuff, and then Modu started sending me stuff, and so it's just too much to keep up with. So yeah.
Tobias has infiltrated my Discord, and then also I was able to see Zach last week or 2 weeks ago at the Ebonite Winter Classic. Where I was able to see him in his second shift go 5-bagger, gutter, spare, like 2-bagger. It was fantastic. He was playing like 20-7.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. First time seeing the dude. It's like, this is a great start. You want to hit? We do have a couple super chats going on. Always Dead with the $25 Australian super chat. Happy to see you two doing a collab together. My favorite two bowling tubers. Howdy from Australia. Thank you so much, man. Great seeing you yet again. And then Tyran, who was the #1 tailgater of the day. He's hopped in. I think Tyran was here at like 4 o'clock or something already. So he was making some hot dogs. He was passing them out to the fans. This is like getting 2 goat balls in a mystery box. Best collab ever. I'm 0 for 4 on mystery balls. So I'm like 1 for 4 on mystery balls. So we're not going to talk about those. I wish we had Bowling Fool here. Have you seen him online at all?
I don't think so.
Okay, he does.
I have, but
yeah, he hasn't posted much lately, but he was doing a lot of live streams and he loved mystery balls. And he was able to get like back to back to back brand new Brunswick releases from 3 straight mystery boxes. I told him to go hit the lottery after that. It was surreal what he was doing. He was like, yeah, we're going to open 2 mystery boxes. And I think it was like the Max Effect at the time. Like, it's a Max Effect. Like, you just saved $100 on that ball. That's a $200 piece. Insane.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got just a lot of happy people right now in chat. Shim Record jumping in. He warned me that there's a ginger on my screen, so thank you for that.
Yeah. Turn your brightness down.
Oh yeah, don't worry. I'm insanely pale, as we can see from all the lights and everything. So don't let us near the sun, either of us. It'll go really bad. You're gonna see a couple tomatoes real quick.
I'll stay off the radical site too.
Yeah. Oh God. Let's see. Radical and the bright yellow. Oh wow. Their sites. Oh no. There it is. Oh, it isn't that bit bright right now. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't talk bad about it. You'll get yelled at on.
Yeah. No, I threw some shade. I did that kind of brand redesign for 900 Global, and I kind of threw some shade at him, and everybody's like, why do you hate Radical? It's like, well, you got to listen to what I said. The equipment is great. The equipment's fantastic. The marketing is not my style. It does not appeal to me. And the website's really bright. Every time I had to go get on there to get some pictures or whatever else, the website's really bright. I had to wear sunglasses, but
I know whenever I would do my previews, I would always have like the ball page up that I'm showcasing, and it's just bright yellow. So my screen is just yellow that entire time. It's like, guys, no one likes seeing a bright yellow. There's a reason marketing doesn't use this color. It hurts. What's going on? Another $5 super chat from Tyran. Fire up the radical filter and we're all ginger.
Yeah.
The old radical filter.
Yeah.
Tyran, there's so much unbiased on screen. Love that.
Yeah.
No, so
that's kind of the funny thing. I was going to do a video about since I don't do all the Brunswick brands and I haven't drilled a storm ball for a while. I wanted to do like what did I wish I would have drilled last year? And like half the list is radical stuff. Like an outer limit solid. I really like the original, no doubt. So I could have drilled one of those. I want to try that torpedo direct hit because everybody I've seen using it in the proper situations, the correct way, it looks fantastic. And so, yeah, there's just a ton of radical stuff on my list. But
if you do drill it weak, I drilled mine strong thinking, oh, it's insanely weak cover. I need to get the core to be a little bit stronger to pick up. Yeah, and it flares around it's my highest flaring ball. It flares around the entire thing. It's insane.
Yeah. Somebody explained that to me the other day when, of course, the Apex Jackal.
I have a story for that.
Somebody explained that to me the other day, and he's like, well, you drill stuff based off your positive axis point, but with axis migration, if you drill something really strong, like 4.5 inches, well, if you have a high enough rev rate, by the time the axis migrates, it's not a 4.5 inch pin anymore. It's technically 4.5 pin to pat, but as the ball flares, the axis that it's rotating on changes. And so if you drill it really strong, it just does everything up front, and then it kind of gives up down lane. So that's why he was explaining, that's why EJ and all those guys use 5.5-inch pins, so that it gets through the front, but then it's strong further down lane where they want it to be strong. And
No,
so
yeah.
that tracks and makes sense. And so like a torpedo direct hit, I would probably still put like a 5-inch pin on it or something.
Yeah, no, good call. That always surprised me early on, because I live and die by the Beef and Barnsey podcast. I love those two guys. They give us an insight that really very few people in the industry can actually give us. And it'll be Stu saying, "Yeah, I put a 5.25-inch pin on this ball." And I'm just like, when I was starting, I was looking like, what are you talking about? If I look at the Radical drill charts, the strongest they go is like 4.5.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And now getting into the pro shop side of things, a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, I get it now. Yeah, you're special. You have that PBA role. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a little different. And that's the whole thing about the Apex Jackal, is that you do not drill for 95% of your consumer base in a pro shop under 4 inches or over 5 inches. Like everything lives plus or minus 4.5 plus or minus a half.
Yep.
Because the vast majority of people just don't need that kind of stuff. But on tour, where everybody's got a 500 rev rate, you don't want the ball, doing everything at 20 feet. So a little different story. But
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that one's always an interesting one. Like, I know as a pro shop guy, I've drilled very few pin down balls. And like you said, I've drilled very little above that 5 inches, unless it's someone extremely rev dominant coming in that really needs they got something big and strong and they need it to tame down a little bit. Usually if someone brings in a ball, you just kind of have to match. All right, I can't help you with this part, but let's help you with the surface and the layout piece of it. But yeah, that one was very interesting. Ironically, I just saw a TikTok right before this of a guy who said, game 1 with the Apex Jackal. Some say it's good, most say it's bad. Let's see what I think. And he threw like you could watch the core kind of flip over and over flare at about 40 feet. And then it rolled out in 9-pinned, which was cool. And he's like, this ball's great. Well, the ball motion was like, ugh. So remember, kids, don't just look at what you leave as pins. Make sure to look at the motion.
Yeah.
That one, have you touched that ball since? Like,
no.
have you tried fixing it up, doing a Ron Hicklin of anything, minus like the X-rays?
No, because what we ended up figuring out is that I tried. So we went pin up both times, and then after everybody kind of threw all of us review guys kind of threw the ball or played hot potato with different layouts that we were doing, Hicklin finally figured out pin down looks pretty good. And so while I haven't done anything with it, I have had a lot of people say, okay, well, I'm kind of scared of this ball, recommend me a layout. And I recommended pin down layouts for people that have no business ever putting a pin down layout on anything. There's a buddy of mine from not too far away, and the guy's got like a 250, 275 rev rate, and he throws it 15 miles an hour. And it's like, this guy is not ever a pin down layout candidate. And I went, yeah, go like 60 by 5 by 60. And he's like, no, I'll do it. I'll just go ahead and do it. And the ball turned sideways for him. It's crazy. But every single person that I've recommended a pin down layout for, it's like, man, this ball is just absolutely insane. And so it's like, okay, well, if I drilled another one, and I've heard some other people say it's like, yeah, I drilled one pin up to begin with and it was awful. And so I drilled another one pin down and it's amazing. And so I think that I probably could drill one and go pin down and probably be fantastic if I wanted to, but I drill so many balls anyway that I'm just not going to go out of my way for something, even though it's a cool looking ball. Motive never misses on the
such a cool looking ball.
Never misses on the stuff. But yeah.
No, they're killing it in colors. I love Motive's colorways. Evoke Mayhem is one of my favorite looking bowling balls of the last couple years. Before that, the Sub-Zero Forge was one of my favorites. Like, their colorways are absolutely sick. But yeah, it was so disappointing getting that Apex because I was ready to review it. I was going to order one through our pro shop. Like, all right, I'll drop the couple $100. I haven't done a motive review in months. I haven't thrown a motive ball since the Max Thrill Hybrid, which didn't
Hmm.
really match up to me well. I want to get that Apex, a new shiny Jackal. I need a big ASIM Pearl. It's a good example for the channel. And then I saw a couple reviews like, ooh,
Yeah,
let's hold. Can we sell that in the pro shop? No. All right, we're gonna back up a little bit.
yeah.
Because I don't know about where you are, but we are like very much zero motive around our area. I can probably count on one hand how many motive balls we've sold in the last 3 months.
It's really weird. There's a lot of stuff that's regional. There's some places where, when I was in the shop, it was mostly Storm and Hammer. We would sell some motive stuff. We would sell some other, and back when I was in there, Ebonite was still its own thing. We would sell a handful of balls here and there, but I never had to worry about ordering a hammer ball because I had one customer that literally bought every single hammer ball that came out. It didn't matter what was going on, and he wanted it stacked leverage with a weight hole on his axis every single time.
Hmm.
So it's like, well, I can just order two hammer balls because I know I'm going to sell one of them. But yeah, some places are crazy one way, and some places are crazy the other direction. And around here, everybody throws a pretty good mix of everything. And I'm in a really big bowling area to begin with. Just in my scratch draft league, we have several Brunswick staffers, Storm staffers, Motive staffers, Swag staffers. Like we've got everybody, and so it's just kind of everybody kind of buys everything around here. I don't think any one thing stands out too much more than the other.
Yeah, yeah, you're kind of in the bowling mecca to a certain degree. Like that is one of the areas of the country where you are going to see the best of the best bowlers. Like I know for you guys, you probably have a lot of sweepers where there's going to be some of the regional pros are coming in.
Well, and
Like a
yeah,
lot of
they're
tournaments are
just
probably a lot tougher.
yeah, just straight up pros. Like, and that's what always sucked about being left-handed too, is that not only do we have the area guys that nobody knows about that are good enough to be, or we have people like Zach who bowls regionally, but he's got an intercollegiate team championship with Wichita State, and he's got a team eagle that he got with Prather and Bowers and Hoope and those guys. And so every single time we have a kind of a traveling sport tournament series in Kansas City, and we would have all the Wichita guys come up, and so we would frequently. I mean, Packy would be here. Zach Wilkins lives in Kansas City now, so we'd see him. Brad Miller's from Kansas City, and so we'd see him a lot. Spencer Robarge, T.J. Rock, Ryan Barnes has come up for some stuff, and so we see freaking PBA to begin with, and then we see all the other guys. Like there's another guy, Dylan Burns. He won the RPI a couple years ago. He doesn't do the regional. He had a kid, so he doesn't do the regional thing too much anymore. But then we've got Zach Rhodes, and we've got other just the regional players aside from the PBA tour. And so you just kind of walk in there, and it's like I'm just here to participate. I don't go to a tournament. It doesn't matter what hand I'm bowling with. I don't go to a tournament intending to really do much more than have a good time. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. Like we're gonna bowl Southwest and Wichita here in a couple weeks, and Spencer Robarge is in our group. Him and his brother normally bowl with our group, and then if I bowled with the same group down in Tulsa, Pete Weber goes with them occasionally, and a couple of the big names from St. Louis, Tim Barrett and Shea Bittenbender that people might know. And Zach Wilkins goes with our group to Tulsa, and so it's just kind of we're just used to seeing people all over the place. So yeah, with Wichita State just 2 hours down the road, and then Kansas City's pretty big. St. Louis isn't too far away. Omaha's only a couple hours away. Lincoln, whatever else. So yeah, it's kind of a hot spot here.
Yeah, that's good and bad. Like when you're surrounded by that many good players, you can learn so much so
Oh, yeah.
quickly. I think that's something a lot of people just don't have the opportunity to is be in areas where there's some phenomenal bowlers who can teach you kind of the do's and don'ts of a lot of things, especially with ball motion and how to start a block, things like that. But yeah, it's going to be very hard to make some money. Brackets probably aren't very much fun.
Yeah, well, and even just in our scratch draft league that we have, there are 5 or 6 Eagles in that league. There are national PBA champions, several regional titleists, like the guy that we bowl kind of like a Peterson points thing. And so the guy that I'm actually bowling tomorrow night has 2 eagles. He has a team eagle and an all events eagle,
Casual.
and 3 or 4 regional titles. Jayhawk Bowling Supplies pro shop manager Russ Wilson, him and his wife Crystal won the Lucy in 2002 or 2003. They've got he's got an eagle. Crystal was actually on a Queens telecast in 01 or 02 or something like that. It's that famous video where the blonde woman's playing like the half board or whatever. If you've ever seen that, that's Crystal. And yeah, Zach's got intercollegiate team championship. He bowls that league and an eagle and a 300 with our group a couple years later after that. So yeah, we just in our league, we have all kinds of craziness, let alone wandering too far outside of that.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. Have a couple comments here that I wanted to dig into with you a little bit. Kind of getting into social media. First of all, Sweet Baby Jazzy B says, kudos on the stealth mode hybrid video. Got it right away. 279 out of box. You and Angel are doing awesome. So we love Sweet Baby Jazzy B, also with one of the best usernames in our live streams. And then I also had another one that Tyran said, I know 4 women that will buy anything they see Angel throw. So kind of getting into that side.
Yeah.
How many bowling balls do you think you sell with ball reviews? It's impossible to track, but it's something that I think the bowling community and a lot of manufacturers and things like that don't really know of, because it's very hard to track. But you're getting 5 to 15,000 views per video, depending on the brand. Like if it's a Hammer one, it's going to be 10K. If it's a Storm one, generally it's going to be fairly high. If you throw a Columbia ball, you'll get like 400 views. But with that, do you have a lot of people coming up to you like, man, I bought this ball because of your review and thank you so much for that, or you recommended me this in the comments and thank you? Is that a common thing for you?
Yeah, I have that quite a bit. I actually had AJ Chapman at Tulsa one year tell me that he's like, yeah, I wasn't even going to drill this ball, because he was on staff with Storm at the time, or Roto Grip, or whichever brand he was on with. And you're just passing him in the bathroom or whatever. He's like, oh, hey, I watch your videos. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that's cool. Just caught me off guard.
Yeah.
And he's like, I wasn't even going to drill this ball. I think it was like an MVP Pearl or something. He's like, I wasn't even going to drill this ball. And then I drilled it and I shot 790 in some tournament, won $3,000 or $4,000 in brackets or whatever. And he was like, thanks. I'm like, that's cool, man.
Yeah. Can I take 5% for that?
Yeah, I gotta say I take tips. But no, I have people say that all the time. And that's one of those things where, being in the pro shop, I love both sides of it. I love the business side of it and what makes people tick and what makes people want to buy things and whatever else. But I also like the pro shop side of it, getting the right ball into somebody's hand. And I talked about this on the Swag podcast that I was on the other day, where it's just like, you know, if people enjoy bowling, they're going to continue. My ADD's jumping around here. But if people like bowling, they're going to bowl more. They're going to buy more stuff. And so you got to buy bowling balls to play the game anyway. And so you might as well just sell somebody the ball that they want or they need. You don't have to be a used car salesman and try to talk people into stuff or whatever else. They're going to buy the stuff. So you might as well get them the stuff that they want, help them out with it. That keeps them invested in bowling. And it's just a big trickle down effect. But I have seen the other side with numbers from like a pro shop, and having heard from manufacturers, it's like, well, we don't really know, you know, sure, you get 10,000 views, but what's that worth? Is that worth a bowling? I would assume it would be worth sending me a bowling ball, but you would have to think that how many people, if they're watching a certain ball, say I put up a video and it gets 10,000 views, how many people are directly influenced? And that's what you're talking about. How many people are directly influenced to go out and purchase that ball by your video? And a lot of people, probably 10, 15%. I think that's way overshooting it, because that's like 1 in every 10 people. I don't think that that's happening.
I know.
But I would have to say somewhere in the realm of 2 to 5% of the people, and that might even still be high. But we're still, even if 10,000 views. Even if 1% of the people that watch that video are influenced to go buy a ball, that's still 100 balls. So if I did my math right there,
Yep.
I might have to double check, but I've done it before. So
Yeah. No, you're actually hitting exactly what other social media influencers are hitting with their marketing plans is when they get an offer from a company, it's generally I can sell you 2 to 5% of the views that I get on whatever product it may be. And I think that's something that bowling hasn't really kind of ignores to a certain degree. And you've dealt with it for more years than like when social media wasn't where it is now, where everybody on TikTok is trying to sell stuff through the TikTok shop and make 10% commission. But I wish it's something that the industry would actually understand is, well, this ball review, no matter what, is if it sells 1%, yeah, you have 3 major ball reviewers doing it, 10,000 views each. A couple percent of those people buy it. That's more than any pro shop in America is selling.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, we would be, whenever I was in a pro shop, if we sold, and then I was kind of in a smaller market, kind of, but not really. But if I sold a case of something, then I was just like, oh, okay, well, this one's kind of popular, and that's 4 balls.
Yep. Yeah, that was Zero Mercy Pearl. I was talking to somebody in the cities, and they're like, yeah, I sold about 4 of them. So that was actually pretty decent. It's like, man, some reviews of that ball have gotten 15,000 views, and that person sold more than what your pro shop has sold in balls in a month. It's insane. Like it's something hard with the space. And I know you've dealt with it more than anybody because you've talked to the manufacturers. You've talked to every brand in some way, shape, or form. You're, I think, one of the only ones to actually hit all 4 of the major brands that are out there right now. But it's interesting. It's very interesting to see that with the space because you've sold me a lot of bowling balls. In all honesty, like I've been watching you for a long time. When you mentioned MVP Pearl, your MVP reviews made that ball look like it was the greatest thing ever. And without you trying to make it look like that ball looked sick.
Yeah.
Mine, it was actually a pretty decent ball.
I was gonna say, yeah. Hopefully, it was good.
No, it actually wasn't bad. I was surprised. Yeah, because that was one of the last HP2 balls.
Yeah. we kind of called it. We kind of call it the first HP. It's funny that we have the HP5 level now with a transformer because we called it the first HP5 ball because it's like this is supposed to be a low end ball and it was hooking off the planet.
Oh, so. It was so heavy rolling. That thing was wild. All 3 of them, super heavy rolling.
Yeah.
The Pearl, I was able to gloss up for a friend who needed something to hook 90 feet down lane and finally was able to be okay for them. But man, that thing was so heavy rolling.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is a fun question. All right, Jaybird, I got a question for Luke. Since you only do 3 of the brands, which one of the other 4 brands stood out to you on bangers being released last year? So you mentioned Radical, but are any of the other 3 brands you think, man, that one also hit it out of the park, and I wish I would have thrown a couple of their pieces?
Ebonite.
Oh.
If you look at the Ebonite lineup from last year, it was just banger after banger after banger after banger. Like everything from Ebonite last year was disgusting.
Okay, huh? What did they have last year? Crushers. The saddest story in bowling history, where they had the Crusher come out, and then they had the Crusher Hybrid, which was also a hybrid. That ball was the hybrid one was good though.
Yeah.
They had that, the GBs. I think that was the year of the GB5 Pearl. GB5 Pearl is still sick, and it's stupid that it's $120.
And I think the One Ovation 2 was the stealth mode last year. I think the stealth mode, the original stealth mode.
It was because it was on. It was throwing a ton on
track. I'm stupid.
Oh yeah. What was?
I got to pull it up and look. Okay.
Yeah.
So the real time.
Oh,
the real time was ridiculous.
I think it has a 900.
Nobody knew about the real time for some reason. The GB5 Pearl, the Turbo X.
All sick. I love mine.
The Entity, it's another pink, purple, orange, whatever. It was really good. The One Ovation, and I got to see what they recently discontinued here.
Retired. A lot. Real time was one that just went. Yeah, the One Ovation is also cheap right now. Ebonite's kind of in that weird spot where all of their stuff just isn't getting popular, even though there are some sick releases from them.
Yeah, like the real time, specifically the real time and the Turbo X were insane. The GB5 Pearl was nothing special, but it's a Marvel Pearl type of ball.
Yep, it's something that most people need in some way.
Yeah, so I mean, they just had good ball after good ball after good ball after good ball, and it's some of the stuff kind of looks boring and sound outside of a a GB is going to sell, Game Breaker is going to sell,
Mhm.
and the Turbo X was a throwback ball, so it'll probably sell. But this is something going back to way before, way long time ago. Ebonite stuff just always depressed me because all the colors were like really bland and dull and
Oh
dark,
yeah, they love dark blue.
and I'll never forget my first boss a long time ago, like 20 years ago, when the Apex Aggression came out. He made it's orange and black. It's like an ugly Black Widow 3.0, and he ordered a case of them, and it was a couple years. Like, he sold it at a loss and even gave me a commission for getting rid of the last one. Hi, Pigums. What are you doing?
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
the colors matter so much with a sale, and it's something that a lot of people don't realize. Like, oh, like all of us who are watching bowling YouTube, of course, want to know the performance, but Joe from your Friday Night League who buys one ball a year, he wants it to look good for good reason. Like, I don't want to throw an ugly ball. Why I kind of trashed on the Origin EX pushing the it's ugly, but it's good. The SpongeBob I'm ugly and I'm proud approach.
Yeah.
Um, it matters a ton. So like bowling balls right now that look good always sell well. Zero Mercy Solid, it looks good and it
Yeah.
rolls good for most
Mhm.
people that aren't named Zach. It's great for that. So that's one reason that ball is doing so well.
Well, Ned, I actually just said something on my Discord earlier today about performance doesn't necessarily have to do anything with popularity, because there's some balls that just they look cool and so they sold a bunch, but there are some kind of uglier nondescript balls that I tried to like push for people. I'm like, hey, this one's really good. You probably ought to drill it, but because it didn't look interesting or sound interesting, people kind of pass. I think the 900 Global Cove is one that I'm really big on. And
Yeah.
everybody I've talked into it has said, oh my gosh, yeah, this is kind of I didn't even think about this one. And it ended up being amazing. And so it's like, yeah, I really think the world of the Cove, but it's a weird looking ball. It's a weird sounding ball. I think it's cool. But that's one I'm like, y'all need to drill this one. Don't avoid it because whatever. And it just still kind of getting overlooked. But yeah, and then
Yep.
some other balls that, or you have some other balls that have been around forever. I think that Storm has put out several different balls that have been better than a phase two,
Mhm.
but it's not a phase two. And so they come and go, and the phase two is still around, even though
Yeah.
stuff continues to come out that I think is better than it, but it's the phase two. So
Yeah, it's kind of in that like that god step, that hero spot where you're just now you can't get rid of it. Now they
yeah,
did it with the High Road Pearl, which was surprising, but
yeah,
it's just that tough one where and then they're in a hard spot too because they can't come out with that many rock stars or vengeances because like I know even for the vengeance right now it's on back order. They probably assumed, all right, well, it's in the phase two spot. It's 900 global who isn't selling the best right now compared to the other two. Probably not going to do that great because everyone's just going to buy another phase two.
yeah,
But yeah, it's just they just can't make that symmetrical solid ball where Brunswick can keep pumping out good symmetrical sims. They've got Hammerhead, Stealth Mode, Evil
yeah,
Eye is a step above, but still Evil Eye is somewhere in there. Like they can pop out an Ethos Solid, they can pop out all those bowling balls in that spot. And Storm is just like, well, we can't put that many out. Rockstar is a great ball. It's just gonna get
yeah.
ignored.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I think that's what I said about the Vengeance is I think the Vengeance is legitimately better than the Phase 2. But I also remember thinking when they had the Phase 2 and they put the Axiom out, I'm like, why are we doing this? Because we already have the Phase 2. What are we doing here? But that's also another interesting thing, too, is the whole idol story that I've told several
Yeah.
times. But that was so popular. And then the last 2 years, or the 2 months it was in production, they sold 20 balls worldwide. Like they shipped 20 from the manufacturers, like Storm shipped 20 balls. That's all they had was an order for 20 balls. And so they're like, okay, well, nobody cares about the idol anymore, and they discontinue it. Everybody screams bloody murder, and then they end up making 1,500 more to satisfy. They had enough orders put in. It's like, okay, I guess we'll make another batch of this thing. And so it's like some people will do that, like they won't buy something, but then they'll scream bloody murder when it gets discontinued. And it's kind of like, well, if you want something around, you got to keep buying it. But people would also come into the pro shop all the time and they'd look, well, I don't see anything new. And I'm like, you were in here last week. Give it a second. But then now all of a sudden everything's coming out too fast and whatever else. And my Shimwrecker Enterprises that is in here, he runs my Discord, and he's got a giant spreadsheet. He's a stat guy, and so he's got a giant spreadsheet that breaks everything down by core type and core numbers and cover type. He's got all the information and whatever else. And bowling balls aren't coming out any faster today than they were 10 years ago.
Correct. Yeah.
And it's just weird to actually look at the numbers and think about that. But yeah, that's kind of a legit thing. And this is even counting, like, we weren't counting swag previously. So even with 12 new swag balls last year, we're still at the same numbers that we were 10 years ago. But it seems like they're coming out faster. And I don't know why that is.
I think it's the marketing.
Yeah, it probably is. It's all over the place. And like you were saying about the social media stuff, like 10 years ago, if you go watch a YouTube video from 10 years ago, it feels like you're in the 90s. It's like everything's in, 480p, and it's all pixelated and looks disgusting and horrible. And I've even gone back and watched some of my old videos from 10 years ago, and I was like, man, these are awful. But it's what we had 10 years ago.
Yep.
So,
and bowling generally is always a little bit behind the times in that regard. Like social media wise, especially, there just aren't many people doing. I mean, your spot is very hard to get into as a guy who tried getting into the ball review space and has now stepped back from it. It's very tough to break into that space. But even social media as a whole, like bowling only got big on TikTok maybe 2-ish years ago. And TikTok's been a thing since 2020, and that's when everyone blew up. Bowling's just always a little bit behind in that regard. So some of it makes sense, but yeah, it's very tough on that side. Speaking of James, though, I do want to hit a question he had. Question for you and Luke. What's one ball that really disappointed you and one that's really surprised you in a good way in the last year, and why?
Oh, in the last year?
Yeah, that's a long time. So a ball that really disappointed and a ball that really surprised you.
Oh, I'm going to have to think about that.
That one, yeah.
I need to go back and pull up my... I gotta remember what I actually drilled last year.
I know, I should just look behind. I should look at what I've gotten rid of. I'd say the one that disappointed me, and no, we're gonna go a different route. One that disappointed me was the Max Thrill Hybrid. I was really excited for it. I loved the look of the Max Thrills. I tried it. It was super, super heavy rolling. It's like, oh, that's weird. But let's bring it to some tournaments. I've got our city tournament coming up. I'll keep it polished because the heads are pretty fried where I'm going. And the ball looked terrible for me. I was like, all right, okay, whatever. One time I bring it to Michigan for their Memorial Day tournament. It looked good for a second. And I was like, oh, cool, it's fine. But the cover was just so weak for me, but the core wanted to be so strong that I just could not match up with that ball at all. And I know a lot of other people really like it. I know that was one that EJ really pushed, and allegedly he told Motive, we need a hybrid version of this ball that's a little stronger. So they did that, as you would if you're Motive. If EJ says, you do whatever he says. But that was one probably that was more disappointing for me. Did that buy you enough time?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting, because I think some of the balls that disappointed me, the ones that disappointed me, I kind of expected to not like. And some of the ones, I think, the ones that disappointed me were actually balls I didn't even throw, which, funny enough, there were some, especially on the left side of the lane, that I really wanted to like. Like, I'm looking at the 3D offset assault. It just doesn't shape right for me. Yeah. And this was one going back a few years, the Hammer Effect. I wanted to like that ball so bad. It was the first 4-color ball. It was amazing, but my lefty game does not work with forward shapes. And it was a trash can, absolute trash can for me. And that's another thing that's interesting when coming to reviews, that we might get into later. But I don't think I had anything that necessarily disappointed me that I was expecting. I think maybe the Evoke Hysteria, it just didn't match up with me. I could tell, and that's sometimes you're throwing a ball, it's like, this is a good ball, it doesn't fit for me, but I can tell it's a good ball. Like the Effect. That's why I didn't trash on it in the review, because I'm like, this ball sucks for me. But as soon as I say this ball isn't very good, then it's like, oh, Luke said this ball was terrible. And it's like, well, no, it didn't match up for me, but I think everybody's going to like it. And so I don't want to people follow you for your opinion, so they want to know what you think. And there's a lot of people, it's like, if you say you like a ball, then I like it too. And so your opinion's important, but it's also important the other direction. I don't want to talk somebody out of a ball that might be fantastic for them just because it didn't fit for me. And so you kind of walk on eggshells. The Evocust area, it looks freaking sweet, and it just did not quite match up for me. And that's when I always tried to throw, and it was just over under for me. So I would have to say, especially because everybody else liked it. I had this with the Idle Pearl back in the day. It was awful for me, the first one that I drilled, and it was great. Not just great, it was fantastic for everyone else. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So I drilled another one. I drilled it pinned down, and then, I made so much money with that in the phase 2 that year. I'm not a guy that makes a lot of money bowling tournaments, but man, I made several $1,000s that year.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's that's a good point that I want to get in. Yeah, that we should definitely get into is I know for me, I've made 2 negative ball reviews. I've only made about 10-ish ball reviews total. I don't receive anything from any of the companies, so I've learned on YouTube, if you're not one of those first posting the video, you will get very few views. That's just how it is. You can't really make your money back. I tried it with the Evoke Mayhem. No one really watched it because everybody already had their reviews out. So they already made their mind up. They want to see the new and pretty. And at that point, I think Brunswick announced a bunch of new stuff. So not worth it. But the 2 that I did that were negative received more downvotes, more dislikes than any video on my channel's history. So it's a very weird spot. Like you said, they want to hear your opinion of it. But if your opinion is negative, you are going to get flack.
Oh, what are you doing?
And I know you probably got that with a couple of your balls that you said just, this ain't it.
Yeah, well, and I even had somebody call me out when the Zen Master came out.
Oh yeah, I forgot that
and
one.
it was not good. I didn't like it. And that's the other thing, is there's a difference between something not fitting for you and just being objectively worse at several different metrics. If you look at it in several different categories, like at the time when the Zen Master came out, we had the phase 2, we still had the Axiom. And there was something else there too. I think the Helios came out just shortly thereafter. But I'm like, just objectively speaking, if you compare the Zen Master to the phase 2 or the Axiom, either one, the Zen Master just performed either the same or worse than the other balls that I was comparing it to. And so it's like, why put this ball? It's not that much different from a phase 2. It's just like a bad phase 2. It kind of does all the same things. It just doesn't, it's not as versatile. It's not as forgiving. It's not as whatever else. Why? And so it didn't react great for me anyway. And then just objectively speaking, I thought it was bad. And so there was a global staffer that was kind of butthurt, and he got in the staff group, and he didn't name me, but he went and just kind of wrote a paragraph blasting me for it. And it's like, bro, I mean, and I think it's gotten worse because people used to want to hear, if you just kind of offered up a sacrificial lamb every once in a while to prove to people that you were honest, it kind of helped. But that's the other thing, is that bowling balls haven't changed that much in the last 10 or 15 years. It's kind of Mr. Potato Head, and they've kind of nipped and tucked stuff. Like, you can tell Brunswick stuff now versus Brunswick stuff 10 years ago, pretty different. Storm stuff now versus Storm stuff after Softgate and whatever else, pretty different. Motive has kind of incrementally got better, but nothing's like significantly different. And so they've done it so often, it's like, do you really think that they're going to put something through, they're going to spend all this money on it, they're going to put it through R&D, they're going to do all this stuff, and just like accidentally release a terrible ball just for a reviewer, some random reviewer, to say, oh, this one sucks, beware? It's like, do you think they're actually going to let something that just straight up sucks through R&D? The stuff sneaks through every once in a while. It doesn't happen very often, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think right now the bowling ball space is better than it's ever been in terms of just quality. Like you mentioned, Brunswick stuff from 10-ish years ago. I remember a lot of stinkers that I drilled when I first got into the space. Like, my uncle was a Brunswick staffer when I first got into bowling. I was like 18-ish years old. So I was getting all of the stuff he didn't like. And there were some terrible balls. Mastermind Genius was easily the worst bowling ball I've still thrown to this day.
The wild card.
Yeah, well, one of the guys at my pro shop adores the wild card. He bought like 3 of them, like in the last couple of years. but they're the R&D, the time they take, the testing they do of these balls, they're not really making anything bad anymore. Every ball is somebody's favorite. It's kind of the Pokemon effect, where every Pokemon is somebody's favorite. Every bowling ball is somebody's favorite ball and is going to match up to them perfectly. So that is the one side of it, is like it's hard. There aren't many bad bowling balls. It's just they're less versatile than other things in the category. Apex Jackal was one that everyone saw where, well, if you drill it a certain way,
Yeah,
then it's going to roll good, but you have to willingly know, and your pro shop has to know and keep a pulse on everything
yeah,
of that you need to drill it differently, which is tough, especially in a pro shop. I mean, I just had a call with Ipsia where one of the guys asked me what how did he say it? How do you actually keep track of everything, and how should a pro shop actually keep track of anything? I wanted to say you don't. It's
yeah,
you have to make that your full-time thing just to remember all of that stuff.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
know that
interesting.
you doing all your ratings and rankings and ball charts and whatever else. I mean, you keep up on it, but you're also probably doing it 40, 50 hours a week too.
Yeah, it's a lot. Luckily, my memory, for some reason, I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I can remember every ball of the last year and kind of the strength of it. But that takes a lot of like watching everybody else on the internet to see where a bowling ball fits. So that's
Yeah,
where those kind of came from, is like, how is somebody in the chat right now supposed to know all 115 bowling balls on the market? They just can't.
yeah.
So
I can tell you about it if you remind me of it. Like I had to go back and watch. It's like, what did I actually throw this year?
yeah,
The one that surprised me was the Brunswick Alert because it's a IQ Tour on
Mhm.
paper, Venom Shock basically, but it is strong and it turned sideways. That
Yeah.
one very pleasantly surprised me. Which on the left side, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like this anyway. And then it ended up being significantly faster than I was expecting. And but that's one of those too that with my new kind of rating system, it's like if you are buying an alert expecting a Venom Shock or an IQ Tour, that's not what you're going to get. So it's like it's great to pay $120 for something like a Danger Zone, but you're not getting something that's kind of like a hustle or something. So it's weird the way that things kind of work out.
That's a good one, is the alert. That wasn't even, because that was when the Evil Eye was coming out and they were hyping the Evil Eye up. And it's a great ball. Don't
It
get
is.
me wrong. But then the alert was there and it's like, wait a minute.
Wow.
This one
Yeah.
has cool stats.
Yeah. Yeah. We got to pay attention to that one.
Hmm.
Uh,
That one's popping off too right now. People are loving the alert. Holy cow.
mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah.
waiting
Yeah.
for an alert
Somebody
pearl.
that's another one. If you can talk somebody into to to buying something, I really think that um, some people are going to like certain balls, and so that's why I hit certain balls a little harder. If I think that they're not necessarily going to have a ton of like the Viking got completely overshadowed by the Phase Two Pearl hype, and the Phase Two Pearl is great, and it's exactly what that's one of the rare balls that it acts like a pearl, like what everybody thinks and would want a Phase Two Pearl to act like. That they nailed it, but it overshadowed the Viking, and then everything overshadowed the Next Factor
I
because they
forgot
kind of
about that ball.
snuck that in. Yeah, everybody forgot about that ball because they kind of snuck it in right between there. But then before it even came out, they were already hyping the Transformer like 3 or 4 weeks before they even announced it. And then it was another 3 or 4 weeks before the ball even came out. So the Next Factor just got completely buried.
Yeah. Oh, what are your thoughts on Brunswick's new marketing plan? So I don't know if you've seen, I think it's been since January, they only give about 9 days between announcement and release day. So instead of the general 3 week cycle that everyone's done for years, they just cut it to almost nothing. What are your thoughts on that?
It's I kind of like it, but it's also kind of challenging at the same time because bowling balls are so expensive that I don't think a lot of people just have several $100s laying around that they can just run out and grab something. But at the same time, if like Storm used to announce, and this was a big problem that I had when I was there, is they used to announce stuff 5 weeks early, and then we couldn't talk about it until 3 weeks out. And so I'm sitting there answering messages on my phone for hours and hours and hours a day because they wouldn't let me put a preview up. They wouldn't let me talk about it publicly. They wouldn't let me do anything until we got closer to release. It's like, well, we don't want to promote it so early. It's like, well, why did you announce it so early then? But I digress. But I do like having the shorter because then it's relevant in people's minds. If they see something they like it, they don't have to just kind of put it in the back of their mind. It's like when they put out movie previews for a movie that's not even going to be out for another year, or when they say, "Oh, we're remaking this," or like if you're into gaming, they're talking about they're remaking the first 3 God of War games, and it's like we're not even going to see those until 2028 or 2029.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why are you even announcing this right now? If something leaks, then sure, announce it or whatever. But it's like I don't. It's not even on the radar. And with a lot of people, bowling balls come out so fast that if you announce them that early, it's like people forget about them in a couple weeks because 10 other balls have come out since these last ones got announced. And so I do like that if you see something and you like it, you can go get it next week. You don't have to wait, but it's also a pretty quick turnaround, especially when some balls are getting discontinued in 4 or 5 months. There's a lot of people that just kind of skip stuff. If they see something that they like and it's like, oh, that's going to be cool, but I don't have the couple $100 and that's probably going to be discontinued in a few months anyway. And so I guess I'll just skip this one. I think a lot of people have kind of tuned bowling ball stuff out until they're in the market to buy something. Because again, it's overwhelming enough for you and me who are in this every single day or in the trenches every single day to keep up with this stuff, let alone somebody that's just trying to buy a bowling ball every once in a while. And people used to be able to kind of keep up with stuff, and now they're just like, I'm just not even going to pay attention until I'm in the market to buy a ball. And then it's overwhelming when they go to do the research. But generally speaking, I do like the quicker turnaround for stuff.
Yeah. How does that make that with reviews? Because you're receiving stuff probably at a minimum a couple days early. So you have, say you get 3 balls from Brunswick and you have 9 or 10 days to get those 3 reviews out. Does that make it a little bit tougher?
Brunswick is probably the best, or that I won't say probably, they are the best company as far as providing us stuff. We get stuff 3 to 4 weeks early typically, and they send us an informational email that's got, I mean, he's got a Dropbox of stuff that has this ball. Here's several different sizes of ball photos. Here's one with a background, without a background. Here's the shelf talkers. Here's the promo sheets. Everything that we could need to put a ball review together, and I have it 3 or 4 weeks early. So most of the time, by the time I'm putting reviews out for the last stuff, I'm already getting ready to get the next balls for stuff. Motive sends out stuff typically about the same time frame. They give us several weeks to be able to get out and make sure that we can test the ball and get a review done and whatever else. So we do have plenty of time with stuff. Typically, Swag is still kind of weird because they're still kind of figuring out, do we want to release 6 balls at a time? Because last year they did all 6 to begin with, and then they kind of staggered it where they did like 3 and 3 or 2, 2 and 2, and then they did all 6 this time. And so typically I'll get that stuff really early, like months early, and then they'll kind of figure, okay, and especially because that stuff's made in Korea, and so they've got to figure out shipping scheduling or shipping stuff across the ocean, and shipping's complicated right now with getting space on boats, and so they're never really sure exactly when they can put stuff out. But for somebody like Brunswick, it's like clockwork. It's like, okay, we're releasing 4 to 6 balls every single month. They're just like bang, bang, bang. Motive's pretty well the same way. They're accelerating a little bit too, by the way. They used to do every 45 days, and now these last 3 balls have been a month, just right on top of a month every single ball. So yeah, we do get a lot of lead time, actually.
Yeah, I'll argue with anybody that, and there's probably people from different companies that will watch this video. I found that out in multiple ways. So hi, Storm, Motive, and Brunswick. How you guys doing? I have found that Brunswick has really engulfed the market of ball reviews. Like in the last couple of years, I think really since they started popping off again with HK22, they've really kind of surrounded the non-staffer market, non-professional market. They don't really have many pros making ball reviews. Packy does when he wants to, is really all his stuff. But otherwise, I mean, the amateur side of it, they've got so many people that get so many views that really push the product. And I would still argue that they've had incredible months the last couple months, and that's because of that side of it.
Yeah, and I would hope that's part. It's one thing, like we were talking earlier about, you never know. It's like, okay, well, how much is 10,000 views on YouTube worth? you don't really know because you don't get direct sales numbers from that. But Storm, I think, was kind of dominant, and this is why I think Storm was dominating the market kind of early. I mean, obviously, their branding is amazing. They've had amazing branding and cool stuff, and the scented balls and whatever else. They've just been the hip, kind of forward thinking, kind of cool kid on the block company. But again, that's what got me into making reviews in the first place, is that they had incentives for making reviews and for putting reviews out there. And so that's a big part of what got me into it in the first place. And so like Motive has the Motive Mondays, but that's not really worth a ton. Brunswick doesn't have any kind of incentives for their staffers to do stuff. But that's also what was kind of, I didn't want Storm to feel any kind of way about, like when I left staff with Storm, that was actually the year that Brunswick started their seed program, where they started sending out balls to content creators, influencers, ball reviewers, whatever you want to say, to begin with. And I just happened to be in the crossfire there. I didn't want Storm to think that I was just leaving Storm, and I had no idea what was going to happen. And I'm going to do Zach and Tobias's videos so that they can get their incentives and I can still have some videos to put up. And then Brunswick actually reached out to me and said, hey, can we send you everything? And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds cool. Because I wanted to see what HK22 was all about. And so that's kind of how that worked out. And so I would have to say that outside of just making good stuff, which again, since HK22 and even their non-HK22 stuff is really good now. Something like the Combat Hybrid that just came out, that's not HK22. It's just one of their other covers that they have, and it's really impressive. It looks really good for my wife. But I would be interested to know what kind of an influence that, okay, well, now for a couple years now, they're pushing hard on the influencer views, traffic kind of space. What kind of return have they gotten out of it? I'd be kind of interested to know that.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they've had a couple of their best months ever in terms of sales. The way it seems, it sounds like their stuff has been doing better and better over the last couple of months, which is awesome. So I think, yeah, that's a really big one. Like I've talked about that with a couple of sponsors of the channel previously, of like, how do you really track this? Like for you have a link to Bowlers Mart in your description, but people watching you aren't gonna buy it from Bowlers Mart all the time. They're going to go to their local pro shop. They might go to bowling.com, who also sponsors this channel, also a online e-tailer. They could go to a friend who has the ball and buy it off them. There's a million different ways they can buy the ball that are completely untrackable.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is you can tell. It's like, okay, yeah, if somebody goes through my link and buys a couple balls, it's like, okay, you can see that, but you don't know what percentage that represents.
Yeah.
Is that like, okay, so of the 10,000 people that watch my video, 100 people are buying bowling balls. What or assuming 100% of those, or 100 people are buying bowling balls, if somebody goes through my link and they buy 4 or 5 of a certain ball, it's like, okay, what percentage is that? Is that 100%? Is that 50% of the total sales that my video got? You have some numbers, which is better than nothing, I guess, but at the same time, you don't have anything to kind of measure it against.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that pro shops or just bowling, it is a gold mine to have somebody like that, but they just haven't really gotten there yet. Maybe by 2030.
Yeah, there's another thing too, is that, and I've gotten into this, and it's like, okay, if you were making, like, other places that send you, or other businesses that if you've got to deal with Red Bull or something, like they send somebody a couple pallets of Red Bull and then, pay them thousands and thousands of dollars to promote something. There's a difference between reviewing something and promoting it. And so while it's like, okay, well, everybody think, oh, the ball companies pay. Well, nobody gets paid unless they're a pro, unless they're getting and at that point, they're getting paid through their national contract, not for like any kind of content. It's kind of like, here's the ball, you're on your own for what you make out of that. But the other side is, if they actually paid us, then it would be a paid promotion. It wouldn't be a review. It would be a paid promotion. And when it comes to a review, it's like, well, but yeah, even okay, so even if they don't pay you, you still gotta, you still gotta say nice things so they keep sending you bowling balls. And it's like, well, but it's actually, I've done the numbers. It's a whole lot easier and a whole lot more, maybe not a whole lot easier, but it's significantly less expensive and time consuming to just do preview. Like when I left Storm to begin with, they were giving me thousands of dollars. Like I was drowning in product. Like that's the three things, or the things I'll say about Storm: fantastic people, amazing people at Storm. And I was drowning in product. I wanted for nothing. But when I ran the numbers, it's like, if I stopped doing ball reviews and just went to doing previews and new stuff and kind of more your direction, I would be better off giving them their several thousands of dollars of equipment back and just doing that. And so by the numbers, I would be better off doing your style of channel versus a ball review channel. And so it's like, I don't necessarily want or need the equipment, so to speak. And so somebody getting a bowling ball, and if the bowling ball sucks, or I don't like it, or I don't get along with it or something, it's kind of like, oh, I just spent 8 hours of my life, drilling, driving, filming, editing, whatever else. I need to turn Facebook off.
Love the Facebook ding.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, well, yeah, they send me equipment, but to do a review, you need the product to do the review. That's kind of like baseline. It can be a benefit if you do actually like and furthermore use the ball, but for me to review the ball, they have to send me the ball. I mean, it's kind of like, it's not necessarily, the ball isn't payment. It's not whatever else. I have to have it to make the video with. And so it's kind of interesting how people look at things until you actually are in the situation and see what kind of goes on. And it's like, man, I'd rather just walk into a shop and swipe my credit card.
It's one of the tougher things. Like I'll have a couple people once in a while, and you probably do as well. Like, hey, I want to jump in and do bowling content. How do I'm going to start as a ball reviewer. Yeah. My first thing I tell them is do not be a ball reviewer. That is kind of that's what the space looks like from the outside. But look at other industries. They don't have like tech, for example. There's so much tech stuff to review, but the tech industry isn't just review product. That's just not how it is. So bowling, to get to that point, you need to be receiving product. To receive product, you need that following. So if you're somebody trying to jump in, don't try to jump into ball reviews. Like you're not going to get paid hundreds or thousands. Like I don't know this, but I'd assume Darren Tang doesn't get paid anything from Storm to make a review of a Bionic where he gets 40,000 views. His money comes from those 40,000 views from YouTube, or in the video talking about his t-shirts or a sponsor or whatever it may be. That's just not really how the money flows in for us.
Yeah, because Storm doesn't get anything out of those views. It's one of those things where it's like they send the product, and so if I can make something of that on social media and I get ad revenue for that, I get to keep that. I don't have to send any of that to Storm. Now, if Storm will get sales for the bowling ball, and they don't have to share any of that with me. It's kind of like, here's a ball, you get a ball, we get a review, and it's up to kind of each side as to what they kind of make of that. If they send me a ball that sucks, that doesn't look very good, they're not going to sell very many balls. And so they need to make a good product, number one, to end up having the video do anything for them. But then I've got to do my due diligence to make sure that I can make the best video ever. But if nobody watches it, then I'm not getting anything out of it but a bowling ball. And I've already got 30 or 40 other bowling balls just sitting up there in my kind of staging area that I would like to take to league. And it's like, only take 3, 4, 5 of them. Hello.
Puppy.
Yeah. I'm talking about Buckham.
Yeah, it's that's one of the tough things too. Like, we're not bowling. I know for me, it's nice to have more bowling balls because I am bowling in tournaments as much as I can. I'm just getting married, no kids. Like responsibilities on the weekends aren't anything crazy, so I'm able to go bowl all these scratch tournaments, whatever is going on, just try to be a weekend warrior to some way. But yeah, if you have 50 products, you can't throw all of them. And in league, you're not bringing 10. You shouldn't bring 10. It's only
Yeah,
3
yeah.
games and it's a house shot.
And that's one of those. It's kind of one of those first world problems kind of things where it's like, oh my god, okay, so yeah, you have 30 or 40 balls laying around, and so it's such a hassle to keep getting bowling balls. But it's like I was telling the guys on the podcast the other day, it's like somebody asked, how do you balance this? And I'm like, you don't balance it.
No.
I don't watch football, I don't watch baseball, I don't do anything but go to work and make bowling videos. That's all I do. I golf like I last year was a big year for me golfing. I went out 5 times. And we've got KU is 30 minutes down the road. We actually bowl in Lawrence full time. And KU's got a great basketball team most of the time. So, but I don't really watch KU games until the tournament starts and until we screw up another good seed. But and we've got the Chiefs, who everybody hates now.
Yeah.
They're right here, and probably especially you. You're up in Vikings territory.
Oh, I'm not a Vikings fan, don't worry.
Oh, okay. But anyway, the Chiefs, who, by the way, I predicted they would not make the. I could rant about that for a while. But it's like we've got all these, and the Royals are getting good again, but I don't get to watch any of those games. I don't go out and hang out with people. I don't do cookouts. I don't whatever else. I make ball reviews. And so it's kind of like when people say it's like, yeah, you get all that free stuff. And it's like, well, you get free money at your job too. All you have to do is show up and work for it. And so it's one of those things. Would I rather work 40, 50 hours a week to keep getting all these bowling balls, a small percentage of which I actually use, or would I rather just not do any of it and then just buy a ball here and there that I actually like? It might be a little bit more expensive on that one purchase, but it'd save me 40 or 50 hours a week. So,
and the best part is with a lot of that, you have that eye for bowling, especially now. You've seen so many shapes and thrown so many shapes, so all right, that one's going to match me, that one isn't. I saw a comment earlier that was, if you don't want to watch a lot of the ball reviews that are out there and you don't know what to look for in terms of like getting outside of some of the muck of buy 3 of these, what do you do? And my tip was going to be, try to learn cover stocks and cores and try to learn what bowling balls you like best in your lineup and see if ones like that'll work. So I don't know, what would you say to that question?
That's a good point, and that's what I've told people. It's like there's always going to be a commonality. That's why I try to describe things several different ways in the videos, and especially when it comes to reaction shapes. Because okay, so you got hook potential and length. It's like this ball hooks this much, this fast or this smooth or whatever else. But I find out that people tend to favor reaction shapes more. And so it's like, okay, if you go and say you've got 20 balls, and if you go look at those and say, okay, if you group them into, I really, really like these are okay, and these suck, there's going to be commonalities between this group of balls and this group of balls and this group of balls. And for me, on the left side, it's rounder, more continuous shapes. And I can pretty well tell you, I've even got like a bowling Rain Man kind of thing where I can look at a ball and it's like, I know how that ball is going to shape just because I've been familiar with it, or maybe it's a color swirl or something like that I can say, yeah. And Angel and I actually kind of do that when we don't really, we kind of decide after we get the stuff, okay, well, I'm going to drill this stuff and then you're going to drill this stuff. Well, we don't just drill bowling balls and then throw them away after we're done. It's like, well, that's what we get basically for the review is the bowling ball. And so I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to throw this ball, or hopefully throw this ball after the review. And I knew what kind of shapes worked best for my game. And so that's what I would tend to stick to. And every once in a while, I would know going into it, something like a max effect. I'm like, I'm just not going to like this ball, but it was purple and Angel hates purple. And so I drilled it and I didn't like it. And so it's kind of like, well, I knew I wasn't going to like it going into it. And so a lot of people, that's kind of helped it click for a lot of people of, okay, well, I really get around the ball. Or somebody like Tobias that throws, he likes more forward shapes because everything turns sideways and continues for him. And so he likes more forward shaped stuff that doesn't just kind of boomerang and slice right through the pocket and leave a bunch of 9-pins or something. And Zach kind of generally likes smoother stuff because he doesn't need anything that turns sideways because everything already hooks and turns sideways for him. He likes kind of tamer, smoother reactions. And so you've got to kind of pay attention to what you drill. And that is one of the big benefits of drilling a lot of stuff is it's helped me really fine tune what I like to see in ball reaction and really get familiar with that. And sometimes, it is kind of a luxury to a certain extent, because if you don't go through that many balls, or every single time you drill a ball, it's $250, maybe you want to try a new layout on something. And it's like, well, I don't want to have a $200 boat anchor by the time we're done with this if this layout doesn't work. And my whole lefty righty thing, it's like I just had problems. I had to go righty. And it's like I can walk downstairs and grab 6 balls off the shelf and go drill them. And for somebody else, that's $1,200 to $1,500 that they're happy if that same situation happened to them. So, I mean, you do still realize that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. Someone did ask also, Hunter Cole on TikTok asked, speaking of the right to left, because you've thrown 300s on both sides, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you are probably one of the few people who's actually thrown 300s both righty and lefty. So that's a awesome accomplishment. Second, I'm also just realizing you're wearing the Patch Pirate jersey.
Yeah.
Right? Perfect.
Yep. I'm wearing my Patch Pirate jersey.
Beautiful.
Inspired by Sweep the Rack.
Yep.
I thought that was a hilarious term. It's like I hate being called a ball reviewer because people use ball reviewer and it has a negative connotation. It's not a compliment. They're using it a negative way. And I'm like, well, I'm not a ball reviewer, but I review bowling balls. So technically I'm a ball reviewer, but
yeah. But okay. I'll ask the right to left question. I want to get back to that for a second. But he asked, do your eyes like the same motion switching from righty to lefty?
Generally, yes. I do like rounder, more continuous shapes because I feel like the way that I like to see balls go through the pins, I think that a rounder shape makes the pocket wider, so to speak. If you have a more forward shape, you tend to get that kind of hook set, flat 10. You can get kind of the mixers. If they are more angular or forward, they tend to cut through the pins a little bit more. Rounder shapes, I find that I get more corners kicked, more trip 4s or 6s, whichever side of the lane you're on. You tend to roll more stuff, and the pins seem to stay a little bit lower and go more side to side with certain shapes. But for somebody like James Shimrecker, stuff he's got a lot of speed and such a high rev rate that stuff that goes forward for other people blends for him. And so sometimes, again, rounder stuff gets through the pocket too hard or too fast for him. So sometimes you need to match up different shapes with your game. But I do like to see similar shapes on both sides of the lane. I'm just pretty well relegated. If I want to be successful with something on the left side, it's got to be a rounder, more continuous shape. I can deal with other stuff on the right side of the lane because I've just got more physical tricks. But on the left side of the lane, so I do like to see similar shapes, but I have a lot bigger window of usability with stuff on the right side.
That makes sense. We have a celebrity sighting in TikTok. Victor Cortez is jumping in. Good evening, y'all. Yeah. TikTok celebrity. That dude's, by the way, is getting like 1,000+ views on a TikTok live stream of his tournaments. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like he was streaming at the Greater Iowa tournament a couple weeks ago, and when I clicked on, it was 1.3 thousand people watching. It was absurd. It was awesome. So good seeing you, Victor. He's seeing James Shimrecker. Nah.
Yeah.
All right. I saw a couple of things on here of it, and I want to ask you, you've mentioned it a few times. Ball review game. So you said the ball review term is seen as negative, which is true, because still to this day, there's a lot of reviewers out there, and big, small, in between, wherever, even unaffiliated, who will always say, this ball's the best, you need to buy it.
Yeah.
So how do I want to ask this nicely?
You can ask it however you want to ask it.
Yeah. How do you, because you don't do that. Mm-hmm. how do you see that culture ever shifting? Because right now, I see even new staffers or unaffiliated people trying to be staffers. Is I'm going to review this ball, man. This thing is the best thing I've ever thrown. I need you to go buy one. And that's without any, like you said, none of the companies say that. You've said that in the past. I know talking to other staffers,
Yeah.
they don't tell you, say good
No.
things or else.
Yeah.
Is that
Um,
ever going to shift?
no, because it's always going to be rewarded. And
Yeah.
this is the thing that I think is that people will, again, and you can tell with the whole honesty thing. It's like everybody keeps saying, well, I just wish that a ball reviewer would be honest with us and tell us the truth. And then you do that and people dump all over you for it. They're mad that you talk bad about their brand, whether it's coming from the manufacturer that's frustrated with something being said about it, or if you're frustrated or the fanboys are of that particular company are frustrated or mad that you said something bad about a ball that they really wanted to like or something like that. And it's just, it's kind of predictable that people will say, "Oh, I'm glad that you're honest and that you don't do clickbait because we hate clickbait and we hate all the guys saying all the stuff about stuff." But those are the most watched videos, and
Yep.
I've even had some of the other ones tell me it's like, "Well, I can't get people to watch a video unless I do this stuff." It's like I don't like doing it, but I kind of have to. Otherwise nobody watches the video. And that's the other thing is I can have an honest good video, but if nobody watches it, it's kind of worthless. And so it's like if I put something together that's good and I don't take the necessary steps to get somebody to watch that video, then it's ultimately kind of worthless. But if I do sell out, I guess, I kind of feel a little bit dirty about it. But again, they do that because that's what people click on, that's what people are drawn to. And you can tell just looking at, just scroll up and down on, just search for a certain ball and just scroll and just pay attention to what your eyes lock into. It's going to be the crazy thumbnails and the crazy titles and the whatever else that's going to instantly grab your attention, whether or not you see it and then you go, "Oh, this is obviously clickbait," and you keep scrolling. It caught your attention. That's the thing. And so I've tried to avoid that because I never wanted to be the influencer type of guy. And I'm actually kind of happy with it too, because if you look at some of the comment sections of these more successful channels, they are cesspools. Like I can't even understand what people are even saying half the time. It's
Yeah.
like, is this English or is this a question or is this a statement or is this, I can't even read it. And so even though I have a sizable audience, but even though I have kind of comparatively, most of my videos get between about 5 and 10,000 views now. That's kind of a relatively smaller audience compared to some of the other ones out there, but I like my audience. I think they're really smart. They're people I can talk to. They're people that keep me honest at the same time. Because I'll have people say, "Oh, no, I didn't like this video," or "I didn't like the way that you did this," but they keep watching because they know that they can talk to me and offer feedback, and I'll talk to them about it and maybe do something about it. And they don't move on because like other people would, "Oh, this video is stupid, I'm done with this person." They'll stick around even if they don't like something I said or don't like something that I did or whatever. But that's long answer for a short question of, it's going to continue to happen because it's continuing to be rewarded. And no, that Storm never ever told me anything. Even when I put out the Night Road video, I dumped on that ball for 16 solid minutes,
You
front to
did.
back. Is just a and that's what I told him to begin with. I'm like, "Hey, there's something wrong with this ball. I don't know what it is," and we eventually found out what it was. But it's like, and it was the Reactogloss thing that they had going on. It somehow, even if a ball didn't have Reactogloss on it, it was getting contaminated in some certain way, whether all the balls were rolling down certain rails that had it on there. But it was once you resurface the stuff, it was fine. But I told one of the guys, I'm like, I mean, I've got my review done, but I just basically bashed this thing the whole time. And he's like, "I mean, if that's your experience, that's your experience." And he said, "Yeah, if that's what it is, I mean, go on ahead and post it." because it's like, if I throw the ball, it's like, well, the ball looks awful. I can't talk my way out of this one or wordsmith my way out of this one. It looks bad. And if I've got to say it's bad. I mean, sorry. And you guys need to figure out what you need to figure out because it's bad. And he said, yeah, go ahead and post it. So they never told me, coached me. Again, in the Zen Master situation, I had a lot of staffers that got mad at me and said, we shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff and, blasting me and whatever else. But no, the company never said a word, never coached me, never told me what to say. They don't tell anybody else what to say. So that's another thing, is all my difficulties with Storm. That's one of the things never happened.
Yeah, it's interesting that people think that is how you get on staff. For the record, for everybody here, being on staff does not get you that much. It is not a one-way ticket to the PBA tour. It is not a one-way ticket to fame and stardom and riches beyond your wildest dreams. It's generally more money to be a staffer than to not be a staffer.
It's a rewards program.
Yeah, it is tough. Like being a staffer, there are a lot of negatives to it. So if your dream is to be a bowling staffer, there are better things you can do in bowling that are going to be better for you as a person. So always something to keep in mind with staffer programs, whatever it may be.
Yeah, you're going to get, as a staffer, you're going to get, each individual piece of equipment is going to be cheaper, but your job as a staffer is to represent the company. And to represent the company, you need to know the catalog. You need to, ideally, you would be helpful. Your whole position is to know the product, know the equipment, so that when people ask you questions, you can inform them on the equipment, which means you kind of need to buy everything and throw everything. And, and staffers pay a whole lot more money for stuff than people realize. And again, Storm has that incentives program that most people don't take advantage of because it's not really worth it. I would rather just pay the money than spend all the time trying to make ball reviews and all this other stuff. But staffers pay a whole lot more money for stuff than people think they do. And since you're buying 20, Storm's got 3 companies, they put out about 25 balls a year. You're buying 25 balls a year, at least, if you just drill one of everything. We're not even talking about drilling other stuff for tournaments or whatever else. And so otherwise, if you're kind of a regular bowler, you might buy a ball every other month or something like that. It still works out to being a significantly higher investment to be a staffer than to just be the average person.
Yeah. If you had to wipe the internet of bowling ball reviews as a whole and start from scratch and make your perfect, this is how people can get the most out of a ball review, what would you do?
I have had this idea for a little while, and my voice is finally coming back here. But I've had,
you can give a sneak peek for this video instead
of
to
do a stream called Building a Better Ball Review, where I actually have people in the chat. I'm going to build something live on the air. So you tell me what kind of graphics you want, what kind of information you want, what kind of different, and there's only so much I can do because I'm going to go out and film some stuff, and I might do some different camera angles and figure out, okay, what kind of information helps you out? What kind of comparisons help you out? What kind of this, that, or the other help you out? And it's a very imperfect situation. I think we're going to meet in the middle, I think, and people are going to understand. It's like, wow, if we actually put all this crap in a video, it'd be 60 or 70 minutes long and nobody's going to watch that. But at the same time, I think I am going to get some pretty cool ideas and we might actually kind of figure something out. But I think that it's kind of okay with the format, the way that things are kind of going right now. It just, the marketing side of it, the sensationalism, I think that's what needs to go. It needs to be more of a focus on the information, but at the same time, people like to be entertained too. Like my videos a lot of the time are kind of like listening to a college lecture or something. You're going to be very informed, but you're going to be bored to death. Meanwhile, information doesn't have to be boring, but I am inherently boring. So you're just going to get what you're going to get. If I was more entertaining or had more of a personality, more people might watch, right? But I think that there's a fine line between people saying, well, I want this information, or could you include this or this comparison or this or that or whatever else. It's like, in order for me to focus on each one of these things, it's like, okay, this is, and I've got everything broken down into like time. Like, video time for throwing one shot is about 7 seconds. And if I do my two views like I do, where I do the one and then I do the zoomed in one, some people don't like that, but some people do. It's like you see a shot and it's like, oh, that was cool, and then you're already on to the next shot. Or if you do the live comms, then it's like, okay, well, somebody throws a shot and then they talk for 2 minutes, and then there's one more shot and then they talk for 2 minutes, and so it's a 20-minute video, and I've seen like 10 or 12 shots. Mine go shot to shot to shot, but you see kind of back to back shots. And then, if I spend to really hit a certain topic, it takes, 5-6 shots maybe. Well, that's almost a full minute of video time. And then if you do that for this ball and this ball, you have 3 comparisons in a video. Well, that's the main ball, and then there's 3 comparisons. It's 4 solid minutes already. And so by the time you keep adding stuff up, nobody's going to watch a 30-minute video. And if you bowl on a different pattern, then you've got to coordinate with the front desk to see, okay, can you put 2 different patterns down? And then you have to try to figure out when they're not busy. And then you have to, and then the other thing about filming a comparison live versus the way I do it, I just pull stock footage from when I filmed for it originally. And people are like, well, yeah, but you're not on the same pair and you're not on the same day and whatever else. It's like, yes, but if I bring an old ball in to compare to a new ball, this old ball might have 50 games on it, comparing it to a brand new ball out of the box. Well, that's not going to be accurate. So it's one of those things where I'm not really sure I can answer the question, because I've thought through this several different times, and it's just an imperfect situation where the best thing that you can get out of a ball review is a general look at the ball and what it compares to. Because if you can compare something new to a known quantity and stack it kind of in a certain range, that's going to be your best option, because the variables in bowling are insane. Maybe where you're bowling at, the lanes are 10 years older, or instead of anvil lane, they're HPLs, and instead of logic, you're using terrain, and maybe you don't have a flex machine. Maybe you've got a Brunswick machine that only oils forward. Like, Brunswick machines can only do forward oil. So regardless of what the pattern sheet says, they can't do reverse oil. And so it depends on the kind of machine. It depends on the kind of oil. So yeah, there's just too many different things to make like a perfect ball review. And then the other thing is too, is like, if you're popular or you're you get a lot of clicks, you get to be a ball reviewer, and they will send you stuff to show off. You don't have to know what you're talking about. You don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to have any qualifications. You don't have to do anything but get clicks. And should we have people, but other companies outside do that all the time. They pick some influencer or somebody that does something. It's like, hey, promote our soft drink or something, or somebody, maybe a football player's promoting some kind of fast food or something that that they don't eat. So it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that. I made a video on Facebook like last week. I saw a pretty prominent staffer on Storm say the concept is a low oil absorbing bowling ball. It's like urethane, where it just doesn't really absorb oil. And of course, as most people watching this know, that is completely off. And you don't need the qualifications to be XYZ to be able to talk about whatever the equipment you have is. So
yeah.
That's one of the top. That ball's crazy, by the way, just in terms of how quickly it absorbs oil. It took me like 30 shots to finally get a ring of oil on that ball. It was crazy. I could never tell really how much flare it had, because by the time it made it back to me, it's like, oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
So this is, someone's mentioning this, Homer, in chat, and I wanna get on this because I've noticed it with my community quite a bit. I'm curious if you have as well. You've been doing it for a while, and your reviews, like you mentioned, also add in the education, the college seminar, the the information side of it instead of just throw ball, talk about ball, repeat.
Yeah.
Have you seen your audience become more and more educated as you've gone on compared to, say, someone else's videos? Have you noticed your comment section like basically leveling up in terms of bowling knowledge?
I would have to say so, and you can generally tell by the questions that people ask. You can tell whether somebody knows what's going on or what they're talking about by questions that they ask. Like sometimes somebody will ask me, it's like, how does this ball compare to this ball? And it's like, I mean, you couldn't have picked two more different balls to compare. And sometimes people mean it's like, oh, well, would they go well together? And it's like, okay, well, that's a different thing. But I would have to say so. And that's the other thing is that I don't delete comments, and I approve all of them. Like I have whenever I upload a video, you can pick which comments to hold for uh,
Wait, really?
to check them out. Yeah,
What? Where's that?
if you expand and you scroll all the way down, you can pick comment moderation, and you can pick strict, like medium, normal, or like none. And so I pick no comment moderation unless it's something that YouTube decides to flag, which I have a user that I don't know what about his username because it's like Vance18345 or whatever. His comments get flagged all the time, but I do not. It's basically flagging for content. If somebody drops a bunch of F bombs in there or something, or uses certain YouTube non-friendly words, you can pick to filter them extra beyond what YouTube already does. But I don't filter comments and I don't delete comments. And you can look down through my comment sections, is they all look good. They're people saying positive things, or they're asking intelligent questions. And I get a trolley one every once in a while, but it's so few and far between. And that kind of goes with what I was talking about earlier with, you can go to other more popular channels that get more clicks, but their comment section, and this Darren Tang said something the other day. He posted on Facebook and he said, I made the mistake of looking at a comment section the other day. And that's one thing that's really telling, is that some channels just want to be content creators. They don't really, they're trying to make a business out of it basically. And whereas I imagine you are in the comment section constantly, just, I'll go a couple hours, I'll be doing whatever else, and I'll come back and I'll refresh the comment section, I'll answer questions, I'll talk to people, whatever else. But he makes a policy of not going down into the comment section. So if he puts out a ball review, he's not going to answer any question that you have, because the ball review is not necessarily to educate anybody. It may, and there's sometimes he's got things that he looks at things from a pro point of view, and so he has a lot of observations that the average bowler, even somebody like me, is not going to have, which are cool to have. But he's not going to answer questions. He's not going to help you out, because his comment section is not. It's kind of like a TikTok or a streamer comment section that's just kind of wild and all over the place. And sometimes comment sections can kind of knock you down too, because people say things on the internet all the time, and so that's just kind of one of those things too. But yeah, I'd say in general, I do really like the quality of my viewers, definitely. Mm-hmm. I do think that they have learned some things, and they keep hanging on, and that also helps me figure out, am I explaining this well enough? Because if I talk about something for 15 minutes in a video and I'm still getting questions that are like, gosh, I talked about that in a video or whatever else. And so that kind of helps me with feedback too, is if people ask better questions, that means that the video has been more helpful or explained better. So I can use that as feedback too.
Yeah, because that's kind of something I've noticed too, on like, especially with these live streams. I've been doing it for probably about a year straight of every Wednesday. And the questions originally from a lot of people who are still here just hanging out right now even were a lot of like, what's stronger, Ion Max or Phase 2? Like some pretty, regular normal bowling questions, and now it's getting more and more advanced of like, hey, I have these 3 bowling balls, what's something that's going to fit this kind of ball shape for me? So it's
Yep.
you just watch that education level get bigger and bigger, and that is one of the disappointing things with bowl, I mean social media as a whole, but especially bowling, is yeah, Darren doesn't read his comment section. I see that as like the biggest part of doing this. I
Yeah.
know,
All right.
yeah, it's, and I have way too many DMs I still need to answer. I've got every avenue under the sun available because I want people to have that place to go contact somebody. And
Yeah.
your comments are the same way, where you have probably read every comment that's been given to you for the last couple of years.
If I get the notification for it wherever I'm at, and that's why I tell people, it's like, if you send me a question on Facebook or Instagram or whatever else, or YouTube or whatever else, and I haven't answered it, it's because I haven't seen it. Now, sometimes it does take me a couple days to get back to stuff, but if I get the notification, I will send you something back. And if I haven't sent you something back inside of, say, a week or something, just send the message again or send it somewhere else so that I see it. So, yeah, but I think that's the whole point. And that's when I was having kind of the issues with Storm about, well, it's like, you can't put preview videos out after we announce stuff because we don't want to promote stuff that soon. And I'm like, well, but I'm just sharing information, and I'm going to have all kinds of people. I'm going to have dozens and dozens of people I'm going to have a lot of conversations with, which is fine. That's the point of doing that. But it's a whole lot more beneficial for everybody, everyone concerned, if I can just make an informational video and put that up. That way they don't have to wait for, and again, it's not so that, well, it's, I got all these people I got to answer questions to. It's so that they can get the answer that they want faster. They don't have to mess with trying to get me through Facebook and worrying about, oh, I don't want to bother him, or I don't want to whatever else. It's like, I can make the video and they can just watch the video, and it saves everybody time. I get more, Storm gets more out of their investment because they're sending me a ball. Obviously, more views is better. And so if they've got me on staff and whatever else, obviously me having a bigger, growing my influence or platform or whatever else would be beneficial for them. But that's one of the things that they said back. It's like, well, I said, well, I got all these people that, if I can't make a preview video, I got all these people that are sending me messages, and they're like, well, you can't answer every one. You can't always answer every question you get or talk to everybody that sends you something. I'm like, but that's the point.
Yep.
Like what you just said, I'm not trying to be an influencer or move product. Like I'm a pro shop guy. I'm trying to help people out. And so it's like, well, I'm not going to not answer questions or talk to people. So that just struck me weird.
Yeah, no, it's kind of that growing bowling thing. That phrase kind of irks me in some ways, and I'll have a video coming out. I'll be recording it this weekend of like, how do you actually grow bowling versus just saying it because it's like saying I donate to charity, so I'm a good person.
Yeah.
That is how bowling grows in a lot of ways. And I do a daily show on Bowlers Network with their owner Jay Fettig and Carolyn Dorn Ballard.
Mm-hmm.
And that question got brought up, is like, how do you grow bowling, is what Carolyn asked us. And mine was, talk to people, comment to video or
Yeah.
people online who know their stuff, to get your questions answered, to give them ideas on what they can do to get more people just a little more educated on the space, because the education level of bowling is all over the place. I mean, I'm still arguing with people online about when urethane is best used, about why urethane shouldn't be used on a house shot, and why something else is going to be a better option. Just the education level is all over the place. So if we can make that just higher, raise that average education, that's going to cause more people who get into the space to want to learn more and to want to stick, compared to, only having their Joe in their league who tells them, oh yeah, you need to do this, you need to have the stacked layout, and you need to lift the ball, and yeah, that urethane ball is going to be the best play for this, and it's going to let you
Yeah.
hit the pocket a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think, and that's again why it's important to talk to people. And that's one of the things that I say, is that every single person in the world is better at something than somebody else. So just because, I throw this heavy object into these weird looking sticks better than somebody else, well, you definitely, I'm sure that there's tons of things that you do better than I do. And so, and there's, it matter if somebody is new to bowling and they're like, I only average 140 or whatever, and there's so many people that use their ability to kind of lord over everybody else, and they have this kind of pecking order. And in bowling, it's kind of up and down. There's some people you wouldn't expect the ego out of, and then there's other people that you would expect the ego out of that are actually really cool. But and that's why, so I try to meet people. It's like, if you want to send me a message, send me a message. I'm just a regular person from Kansas, and just because I'm hyper into bowling and have this like Rain Man thing for it, there's something that you could definitely teach me about something else, and then all of a sudden it'll be the opposite way around. You'll be the master and I'll be the student. And so it doesn't make anybody any more or less important. And we need to kind of realize that bowling is a community. As big as it is, it's also really small, because as soon as you say something on a live stream, then it gets back to all kinds of people. And so it's like, gosh, you say anything and everybody knows about it. And so it's one of those things. It's like, we have to recognize the community that exists and get down off your high horse and be cool with people and talk to people. And that's the way that we grow bowling. It's not in a gimmick or an angle or some certain program that you run or whatever else. It's just helping everybody else enjoy it. So again, the whole ball review thing, people are going to buy bowling balls anyway. Going back to what we talked about to begin with, for anybody that's signed on since then, you got to buy balls to play the game. And if somebody can help you get into stuff that's going to get you further and further into bowling, then you can pass that along somewhere down the line. Maybe you get into it and then you start learning stuff and you get excited about it and you end up being good at this other thing, or you can be the person for that specific area. You don't have to have a platform like we have. You don't have to be a social media personality. You can just do it in your own community wherever you're at. And so you pass that on and somebody else passes that on, instead of having people get into it. And I've had a lot of people that say, I try to get into bowling, but this league I got in, there was a lot of drama. And then, everybody'd scream at me I just bought this ball. I didn't know what I was buying. And somebody screamed at me because I was throwing urethane down the lane and I didn't know what I was doing. And so a lot of people get into it. And it's like, gosh, if I got to pay this much money and spend nine months a year on this league that I signed up for and whatever else, there's a lot of people that get right back out of it as soon as they get into it.
Yeah. We're going to go here. Question I just thought of, which I think can get us in an interesting direction. Something I noticed is I had somebody, Ryan, he might be watching, who's in my Discord, who gave an interesting comment of, I don't know how people can bowl for fun because I always need to be improving in bowling. Which is an interesting spot to be. It's something probably you and I have run into many times where, like, when you're on the lanes, you're like very much like, I want to fix this thing, or I'm trying to get this goal out of it. What is your favorite part of bowling? Like, taking a step back, what is it? You've been doing it forever. What is your thing of like, damn, that is super, super fun in this space? Like, for me, it's the new bowling balls are the thing for me that is so unique in this sport that no one else has. It's the equipment matters so much. And there's so many little nuances of every single bowling ball of like, you could just fall in love with a piece of equipment in the sport. Like, imagine that in basketball, like falling in love with your shoes. That's just not something that happens. But bowling is one that side is so unique, so complex, but there's so many cool things. What is yours?
I think it would be part of that, but it is that meta game to where it comes to equipment and transition. That's what got really boring bowling on the left side. I had the starting from scratch basically again to get back through it. And it did really, sometimes you get used to doing something so well that you kind of forget what it's like when you were starting out, and just things that you naturally just do that you don't even think of, that people don't know, where it's like, well, how do you find out about all these tournaments or whatever? That I talk about Greater Ozarks, or I talk about Tulsa, or I talk about whatever else. It's like, well, I just know about these tournaments because I've been around people and they talk about these tournaments and we go to the tournaments. And people that get into it, they don't know how to get on a team or how you find out about some of these tournaments. And But there's other things that were really interesting, kind of improving as a lefty, that really helped me kind of talk to people again and explain certain things. But I really did miss the metagame of equipment and staying ahead of transition, because I have a solid physical game on both sides of the lane. It's okay, but I punch pretty high above my weight class because of being able to read ball reaction and stay ahead of transition, and either produce good transition or try to avoid bad transition or whatever else. And so that, I think, that's my favorite part, is using the total package, because some people are really smart with things but they're not so great at doing them, and then you have other people that are really great at doing things but they don't really understand what they're doing. They just kind of have that sixth sense where they recognize stuff without actually stopping to think, okay, what am I actually doing? They're just doing it. Pete Weber pretty famously doesn't know anything
I was gonna
about
mention
layouts,
Pete.
and that's one of those things. He doesn't care. He just like, I just need this, and you give him what he wants, or if he sees what he wants to see, he does the rest of it from there, and that's fine. That's fine, for people, because that everybody kind of has different areas that they excel in, and mine is kind of, I kind of get to be a little bit of everything. I would like to be better at, actually, and that's a critique of, it's like, okay, well, what have you won? That you're trying to tell us what we should be doing. You're trying to tell us about all these bowling balls, but how many PBA titles do you have? Or it's like, well, I'm a pro shop guy. This is my job. I'm supposed to know the equipment. Who cares how I throw the equipment? You talk about, and I've talked to people about this before. It's like, most of the most successful coaches in sporting history either really didn't play, or if they did, they weren't that great of players. Or somebody like Andy Reid, whether you like the Chiefs or not, he was really successful with the Eagles, been a really great coach with the Chiefs.
Oh,
He
he's a
was
top
just a
three
good
coach ever.
coach. But he got hurt when he was like 18 or 19, didn't really play at all, but he just understood the game and he was smart with it. And so it's like, okay, well, you're going to tell her Quentin Tarantino, I think he's a terrible actor in the
Oh
stuff that
God,
he's
he's
in.
so bad.
He's so bad whenever he's in these movies. He sticks out like a sore thumb. But my gosh, he makes great movies. And so I at least get to dip my toe in several different. Again, I've got 300s on both sides of the lane. I've cashed with both hands at nationals, so it's not just like, oh, okay, I
Oh,
popped in a couple honor scores um, on a house shot. It's like, no, I've cashed in tournaments. I've done really well at nationals. I think I've actually cashed more as a lefty than I have as a righty. As odd as that sounds, but so I've been able to dip my toe in a little bit of everything. But yeah, the best thing for me is figuring stuff out and using that to elevate my, I guess, elevate my scores or success or my average or
yeah.
whatever else, to be able to have like a 210 game and still be able to average 230, because I get the extra 20 pins from knowing the equipment and reading ball reaction and staying ahead of transition and whatever else. So
Yeah. Yeah. The reason I ask is you might have noticed in the last year or so, it really seems like since string pins started becoming a little more common, as the negativity on the bowling side, just on social media, has risen more and more and more. And then, we're like, yeah, let's talk about urethane in there as well. Let's throw some more kindling on there. And
yeah.
ooh, let's just throw even more. Let's just make it as negative as possible. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't hit on the bowling side. I know there's a podcast you mentioned with Sweep the Rack, is generally most topics they mention are very negative,
Mm-hmm.
usually a little bit of an upset time. So talking about
Yeah.
the positives, why we're all here, because at the end of the day, most people watching this, I shouldn't say everybody, there might be some random people here who are just like, I want to hear these two dweebs talk about bowling. Most of us are top 10% bowlers in the world, which is
Mm-hmm.
a crazy thought, but there's 67 million people in the US who bowl.
Yeah.
If you bowl league and you average 170, you're better than most of those people. So
Yeah. The average for USBC is like 177.
And that's USBC, which is only about 1 million people of those 67 million.
Yeah. So if you average over 170, you're better than 50% of the other USBC members.
Yep. And
So
then probably better than a lot of those 65, 66-ish million other people that bowl.
yeah,
But,
that don't even bowl leagues.
yep. Yeah. You're probably better than little Timmy, who's that 8-year-old who's using the ramp next to you and might have gotten kicked while you were trying to throw a shot because he ran up on your approach. Totally has never happened to me at all. Just random hypothetical story.
Yeah,
Completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I once, I'm 6'5", so pretty strong, like pretty far leg kick. And there was a kid who got very close to me and he got pummeled.
Yeah.
He got right up, but I felt so bad.
And we'll get to see that in action because you're going to come the weekend after you get married, you're going to come bowl a tournament with me.
Yep.
Down at Greater Ozarks, the first or the last weekend of May / first weekend of June or whatever.
Yeah,
whatever that is.
Last weekend of May. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'll be going down to the Ozarks with Luke's group. Should be super fun. I've only bowled the Ozarks once. Yeah, week after my wedding. Luckily, my fiance, soon to be wife, she's a nurse, so she works a weekend shift that weekend. So she's like, "You're really gonna bowl a week after?" I was like, "Yeah, why not?"
You're working.
Yeah, the wedding doesn't take that long.
Sure. Yeah,
she might have actually gotten out of the weekend to come with. She loves coming to bowling stuff, which is super fun. Like she's my videographer for all my stuff, which is awesome.
Well, and this of anything, this would like be that we had somebody, we had a couple with us that actually had their honeymoon at the tournament at the Ozarks a couple years ago.
Awesome.
They came with us because they got married like a week and a half before or whatever. And that would be the perfect place to, if she could get out of it, it'd be an awesome time because we're doing a whole lot more than the bowling is just the excuse to get down there. We're doing all kinds of other cool stuff.
Yeah, perfect. Tobias is saying I should come to the KCO too.
Yeah, you got to come to KCO because we rent out a whole at Jack Stack Barbecue in Kansas City. We rent out a whole party room, and they have more barbecue than you can eat.
Ooh, that sounds like a great problem to have.
It's just piles and piles of smoked wings and brisket and sausage and burnt ends and all the sides you could want and whatever else. And you have to make sure that you bring that swiggity swag ball down to, I think it'll be in play down at Ozarks.
So for anyone who doesn't know, I posted on a lot of the short form plays. I might have mentioned it last week, but I in the past had 2 swag balls that were sent to me when I was with Bowlers Mart. The Apex Pearl and the Craze Hybrid didn't really match up for me. But with this new release, there was a lot more excitement about it. So I asked a lot of different social media sides of mine, like, should I grab a ball? And they were all like, yes, you should try it. So this is the guy who told me which one to purchase. And he told me the Unreal Solid, insanely bright compared to the colorway online. Like, wow, that ball is screaming bright.
Yes. It reminds me kind of like the Rotogrip UFO that they had that was that similar bright green and kind of navy or blue color or whatever.
Great ball, by the way. That UFO was sick. Mine cracked on me in like 20 games, but I loved it.
Yeah, and so as long as you treat and this is something that I talk about too, because Hicklin kind of catfished people the other day with because he has not liked any of the swag stuff so far.
Has he tried a lot?
Yeah, they sent him the first 6 ones, and he's like, yeah, I really can't recommend these because they just don't hook.
Oh,
he's like, I really can't recommend them, and so everybody kind of got mad at him, and so this last one he got a Craze Tour Solid, and he posted a reel or something of him just punching out the 2-pin.
Oh yeah,
He's like, oh, okay, well, that didn't hook at all, and then he put it right back through there, and it's like, and then he said something like, well, everybody thinks we do the same thing with these balls that we do with everything else, and so when he put the video out, and he said, oh, this one, the title was like, oh, this one's going to cause some conversation or something like that. And then it's like, yeah, he punches the 2-pin out from third arrow, but then he moves that second arrow and just throwing darts and throwing darts and throwing darts. And so it's like, oh, okay, he kind of got us on that. Mm-hmm. But I've said the whole time that I'm like, swag stuff is not the greatest for speed dominant bowlers. And so that's when we were talking back and forth. I'm trying to think about, okay, what are you gonna because you have a decent rev rate too, but I would say that you do. I would say that probably Storm and Brunswick stuff is going to match up better for you than most motive stuff. Some motive stuff might be okay, but I really think the way that you throw the ball, the swag stuff that's going to look good for you, that's going to be a pretty small list. And so when you told me what you drilled before, I'm like, yeah, I'm really not sure that I'm really. And that's I had secondhand unhappiness when Angel with Angel's Apex Pearl, because I thought, oh my God, this ball looks awesome. If you put a Storm logo on the Apex Pearl, just looking at it on the shelf in a pro shop, nobody'd be able to know because it looks sharp. Apex is it's a cool name. It's got a cool logo, but it really didn't hook that much. And so I was really disappointed. I'm like, this one, if this one is good, this could really help the brand out. And I'm like, no, it doesn't really hook. Angel likes it because she can just kind of point it right off the corner. It works for her. But that's why I was trying to think of, okay, what are you going to like? And the Unreal Solid is still going to be in like idle territory. I don't know if you drilled an idle or how you feel about the idle or the optimum idle or whatever else. It's still going to be an earlier, slower ball. I think you will like it on tougher conditions. But I think in general, you're probably not going to match up with most of the stuff. It matches up for me really well because I kind of roll the ball. I've got a whatever else. And so sometimes Brunswick stuff can be a little bit too much for me, or sometimes the motive stuff can be a little too slow for me. And so swag stuff fits really good for me. But that's, again, comes back to the information. If I just sell somebody a bowling ball in a video and they don't like it, then I haven't helped anybody. And so, even though I am a Bowler's Mark guy, and it's kind of fair to say, it's like, yeah, I'd like to see somebody else, because I think that somebody was kind of, you had said something like, I'd like to see some other people besides Bowler's Mart affiliated people throw this stuff. And that's a completely fair comment. You're not throwing shade at anybody or poking at anybody. It's a completely fair thing to say. It's like, well, I'd like to see somebody else. And Hicklin actually ended up liking the Craze Tour style. It looked pretty good for him. But when it comes to you, I think that you'll like the ball on tougher stuff. On a house shot, it may not be. I think you're going to be a little surprised with it, but it's probably not going to be a house shot ball. It might be something you might want to save for tougher stuff. You might actually like it on tougher stuff. But again, that's what I would say, just honestly speaking. Not, even though I really like the stuff, and I think you might be surprised with it. It might be oh my God, wow, this is amazing. I think it'll be pretty good, but still.
Mm-hmm. No, that was one of my complaints with the swag stuff, and it's a problem that a lot of the brands, I mean, everyone basically but Brunswick has, where everyone who is online doing stuff does have that. Everyone has a bias when they talk about a product, no matter what. If I bring back the Optimum Idol, I love the Optimum Idol. Not many people did. I adore mine. I think it's one of the best balls when you're playing on a hard pattern and you need to play a little straighter. That ball's sick. If you need to get left to 15, put it in the bag. You're not going to get a 10 pin out. But outside of that, the ball's sick. But there's bias when I talk about the Idol. If someone asks me in a DM, hey, should I buy the Optimum Idol? My head immediately wants to say, yes, the ball's great, because I have that bias from the positive review. So yeah, that was kind of a big thing with a lot of companies, is who has the least amount of bias, so who has less bias in the space. And it's usually if you don't have anything that's coming back your way when you're talking about a ball. So that's why Ron is in a tough spot, because he has a pro shop. You can buy balls from his description. So for him, better business is going to be there if he says, all of this ball is so sick and it's the best ball ever, you need to buy 3 of them. I bet his sales increase. So he has that bias of, if I say good things come back. You are in a lot less of that spot. But even so, just with that Bowler's Mart on there is going to be that little bit of a bias. I know when I was with him, I had that. I was like, ooh, I'm excited for these. Yeah. And they weren't, when I threw them on house and threw them straighter, that's when they were good for me, and talked about that in a review. But I wish there was more I wish there was a Virtue Bowling Supply who compared bowling balls that were close to each other and not Zero Mercy versus a Danger Zone Purple Ice.
Yeah.
Um, but no, that's been the interesting thing because I know social media right now, especially going with the swag stuff, everyone who posts about swag is a staffer or trying to be a staffer in a lot of ways. If you
Yeah.
watch their other reviews, you'll never, or you watch their other videos, there's never a non-swag ball with them. Where
Mhm.
you and Hutch are probably the two of the few guys who do throw other non-swag bowling balls while showcasing the swag stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that swag stuff does match up for me really well. That's actually been, I have taken, and the other thing is kind of putting my money where my mouth is too. That's in my big scratch draft league. I've only taken swag balls the last, you know, 5 or 6 weeks or whatever. But it is something. And I've told people when I've started videos before, I'm like, I just have to warn you up front. I really like this ball. I'm going to try to be honest. I'm going to try to be objective. But this one really matches up good for me. I'm still going to try to get you guys accurate information. But I do want to like the swag stuff, and they do generally match up for me. But I can still see where, and I've told people, if you're speed dominant, just forget this one. Just like the assassin for Angel, it is very smooth. That one I'm kind of disappointed in a little bit too, because it's another one that looks cool, it sounds cool, it's whatever else. It's not going to be a league ball for very many people at all. It's going to be pretty good for if you go to nationals or something. A lot of the swag balls are good nationals balls because they kind of read early and then they ease into the pocket. They're clean and then they're kind of smoother on the back end. So when you need control, they're great. Control is not the best thing on a house shot though when you're trying to shoot 250 every game. And that's another one that's like, well, she can kind of put it down the side and it's kind of slow and it doesn't really look that great on a video and whatever else. And so I straight up told people, I'm like, well, if you're speed dominant, you can just forget this one. Another one, the Serpent. If you're speed dominant, probably just going to be too clean and slow for you. But even the other ones like the Crazed Tour Solid that I really, really like, and it works out great for me. I shot 740 with it last Thursday, and I'm averaging about 240 with it. I really like it, but it's still not a suit. It's still in IQ Tour Solid territory, which is not going to be the greatest league ball for people. So I think it is. I do really like it, but yeah, it's not unfair whatsoever to say that we all have a bias and that's tough to kind of contend with. And I do try to warn people about it, but I mean, still, it exists and it's a completely fair thing to say.
Yeah, and not all bias is bad either is the big one. Like there
Yeah.
is good bias. There is like it can't usually when you hear the word bias, it's negative connotation, but there is bias that isn't bad or less bad than a lot of others. I know I ran into that with the Rockstar Amped. So a couple months ago, Storm sent me a couple of bowling balls to try reviewing through bowling.com. It was the Rockstar Amped, Phase 2 Pearl, and Viking. I
Mm-hmm.
loved all three of them. I think those are really good bowling balls. I shot
I
300
agree.
with the Rockstar Amped in my review. I popped off like 21 of the first 22, and I was going different hand positions, different spots on the lane. It's like this thing's stupid in this condition, and so
Yeah.
I had to preface it with, I want to
Yeah.
preface that I'm trying to be objective, but I
Yeah.
just had a 20
Really like it.
bagger, so sorry.
Yeah.
Y- yeah, you said you're going to nationals. When are you going?
I am not going to nationals this
Oh,
year.
you aren't. Okay.
If I was, yeah, I was gonna say the swag stuff. I think in general it would be really good at nationals because it's, again, they're cleaner, smoother. You can keep them in front of you, whatever else. That's great. Um, but yeah, I'm not going back to Reno. I will be back. We'll be back to nationals next year. Never going back to Reno.
Been to Reno a few too many times.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing, is I always used to like Reno because the National Bowling Stadium's really cool. The row casinos where you can stay there, and they've got a bunch of restaurants and stuff, and then you can literally walk one block and you're at the bowling stadium. And I'm not much of a gambler, and so, um, or I would be if I didn't always lose money, but
That's me.
I go there for the bowling stadium, and it's freaking sweet. And I always kind of liked Reno when everybody would bag on it, but this last time that we were there, it was so bad that I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah,
And that's when they were price gouging everybody for everything, and it was just crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just not doing this anymore.
that's fair. I know. I always try to find an excuse to go to Vegas every year. I've gone probably 5 or 6 times. I always find something new there every time I go. It's like, oh, I didn't know this existed. Let's go there. There's a massive candy store with a candy martini bar in the top floor.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Super cool place. That one was sick. It was like, you want a like a Sour Patch Kid blue raspberry martini? They have it for like $20, but they have it. It was
Yeah,
sick.
yeah, exactly.
You want a weird chocolate one that's based on like sixlets or something? Sure, go nuts.
Hmm.
All right, I am noticing we're at 8:07. I want to do a quick check if there's any other comments that we are missing. So we're going to give 5 minutes, quick fire comments. If you guys have any questions you want to ask Luke or myself, please do. If you haven't, make sure to go subscribe to Luke. His link is down below in the description for his channel. That is the very first thing down there. And then if you haven't, make sure to drop a like on the video, subscription. All of that is completely free for us little old YouTubers, and it's the best way to help support us. Then the YouTube algorithm likes us and it'll help push our content. So if you've gotten anything out of either of our videos ever, make sure to go drop a subscription to both of us. And I just saw, I didn't see it earlier, but someone on TikTok sent a hat and mustache. I don't know if you know much about the TikTok gift side of things.
Not really.
Yeah, on a live stream, instead of like giving money, you give gifts. And like there are different ones you can pick that'll do animations on the screen. So for about 5 or 10 seconds, we had a hat and mustache.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like $1, and then it just pops that on. And TikTok takes most of the money, but it's hilarious every time.
Yeah, yeah. So you've asked me a bunch of questions, and so while we're waiting for other questions to come in, what's the goal for you, or what's kind of the end game, I guess, or what would you like to do with this? Or are you just kind of making videos and seeing what happened like I did?
It started as that. So I started as a video game streamer. Back in like I've been following video games and on social media for years and years and years. Twitter was my home before it burned into whatever it is now. And I've loved Call of Duty, Pokemon, Nintendo games. So I was like, all right, I have the money to be able to buy a webcam, buy a decent desktop. Let's try streaming out. So I was streaming video game stuff for a while. That wasn't really getting much traction. It was a lot of time, just not much output for it. So I was like, all right, I'm really into bowling. I've been at a pro shop for a couple of years at this point. Love the game, going to tournaments all the time. Can I make some TikToks of it? And the first couple just popped off. So I was like, all right, this is an area that no one is really doing much in on TikTok. TikTok had no bowling at the time. It had Lance Hill, who isn't on anything else and has kind of quit to a certain degree. He's now a car salesman in Texas who had like 300,000 follows because ESPN posted him a couple times, and the algorithm loved him. He's been doing it since 2020. Then doing that, it was just kind of that surprised growth out of it. And now we're at a point where, I mean, I'm with Bowlers Network, which is an amazing group with, Carolyn, Pete's in there, Norm's in there, Tom Hess. They keep adding people every day, it seems like. Turbo jumped in with them, jumped in with Apparel EFX, and just we're getting to a point now where it's like, I think this could be a full-time job at some point. And that would be kind of the goal. My goal overall is just make bowling as big as I think it should be. It's very unfortunate to see bowling seen as a small space when it is so large as just a game itself. And looking at other games, it's like, why can't we do that? Like, I'm a big esports guy, and I see some of these esports fill out arenas. It's like, bowling has more people than what play that game. How are we not doing what they're doing? So I want to be able to push this space to that spot in whatever way I can. So that's kind of the end goal of this channel. And then it's awesome to see like the positivity, like seeing having somebody send you a message like, I just shot my first 600 ever because you recommended this ball and it worked perfectly, is the coolest thing.
Well, and that is cool for us to see, because I can still remember when I shot my first 600, what the ball was, the exact score, same for my 700, 300s, whatever else. And that is kind of cool for us to relive a little bit too. So even though some people, oh, you're probably not impressed with a 620, and it's like, well, for me personally, where I'm at personally, no, but that's cool for you. And I remember, again, I got to kind of relive that a little bit with the lefty thing. And so because it's cool for you, it's cool for me too. And it's like, you don't have to have, and some people, it's like, man, I'm finally averaging 190. That's why I made some video about the best tips you've never heard,
Yeah.
where I've got specific and different kind of tips that you haven't heard for whatever your average range is, and I've got a lot of positive feedback about that one too. But yeah, if you can, I'm averaging 180 now. Like I'm over 500 every single set that I shoot, and I was like, well, that's awesome, because that's still pretty. You think about what it takes to shoot 180 is you've got to be mostly clean. You're just not. Most people that average 180 aren't putting a whole lot of strikes together. Now they're having the occasional open per game, but you're still not really doing that bad. And so just because it's not something that I would be happy with personally, I've put decades into this by now, but doesn't mean that I am going to scoff at you or laugh at you or whatever else. It's like, yeah, I want to hear that stuff because you're getting better, and that means that you're excited, and then you're going to pass that on to somebody else. And it feels cool to have kind of influenced that.
Absolutely. And there's so many weird and wild things that happen in people's lives. A lot of people have some terrible things going on in their lives. And if bowling is that kind of reach out to do of like a massive enjoyment thing for somebody, and you can help them keep evolving that's the win. I want to bring up Grumpa, who's in the YouTube chat. He's someone who, awesome guy. He watches every single video of bowling ever. Yep. Amazing dude. He had some problems where he has some dizziness that happens outside of bowling all the time, just with some stuff that happened. And bowling was a space for him where it just kind of didn't happen. And that was like his safe haven. And it was a really, really amazing story, and he's been following forever. And I was able to meet him, luckily, a couple of times now. It's been able to drill a ball for his wife, but those are the stories that like just make all of this so fun.
Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing is with what we've got going on in my Discord, we have tournaments that we go, and I am friend like a couple of them. I've gone to a wedding for people that were in my Discord. Again, that's we have the KCO, which is just, we make teams out of people that are in my community. And it's really cool to network with other people that have other areas of expertise. We got some people that are really good with techie stuff, and we have some other people that are really good here. And we've been able to kind of network and have everybody kind of help each other out with stuff that's even beyond bowling. We had somebody that we were able to raise some money for somebody that needed a surgery for one of their pets, and other people that need tech support with something, or they've got something going on at work and somebody else can throw a tip to them or whatever else. And we actually had, for this last KCO tournament in September, we had somebody fly over from Scotland to bowl the tournament with us.
That's so cool.
And yeah, it just so cool to be able to do stuff like that. So yeah,
that's the reason. I also in TikTok I'm seeing a Brent Boho sighting.
Oh yeah.
He's in the Open right now, right? He made it through the PTQ.
Yeah. That's what I thought. I thought I saw his name on the list there.
Yeah, Brent. You're probably on a different squad, but he said a fellow Pokemon fan. You're a fan? I mean, what else are you going to do in your hotel room between squads? Fire Red Leaf Green just came out on the Switch. You might as well. Pokopia just came out. It's the best Pokemon game ever, apparently.
Yeah, I am flipping back to something else that the squirrel just ran back through the brain. The esports thing.
Yep.
I'm a longtime watcher of the esports thing. I have not bought Call of Duty this year because I know better. But I'm still on the Scump watch party.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Every weekend watching the Call of Duty stuff.
Yeah, love Scumper Jumper.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun, and I play a little bit of Overwatch, and my mom bought my dad the original Nintendo when it came out in 1985 when I was 4. And so that's where I started. And given my complexion, indoor sports are kind of my thing. So yeah, I've been a big video game head for, 40 years now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we might have to talk some game stuff later.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I know. I always try to weasel out some time. It's one of the hard things with the social media stuff. This is, I mean, you've said it already in this stream. It's a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to do this, and it takes away my Call of Duty time. I've played every COD since Black Ops 1. I bought everyone. I have a friend that I play with. It's one way that we can get together and be able to hang out and talk. And I'm always like, all right, when can we weasel some time in? So it's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, we have Mr. Lucky playing Fortnite while watching, Tattooed French Fry playing COD right now. Love
Yeah.
that. Playing Fortnite right now. Ooh. My last Fortnite
Yeah.
story was getting hard carried by an 8-year-old a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I can't get into Fortnite, but
No.
I'm getting to the point with I like the competitive stuff, so I don't play quick play and Overwatch or whatever. I play competitive, and if it's Call of Duty, I'm playing rank play, and I always like to tell the squeakers that you just got beat by a grandpa. Everybody's talking about, God, you sound like you're about ready to. You sound like you're retired or something like that. And it's like, no, I have a deep voice, but yes, I am in my mid 40s, and then I own them,
But
and
it hurts.
then they're mad. But
It like COD especially. I see some just cracked out 16-year-olds. Like
yeah,
your reaction time is so stupid. Like you watch some of the new pros that jump in, and it's
yeah,
dumb.
and
It's
it's like,
insane.
yeah, how do you even think that fast? Like, it's like I'm I'm pretty decent, but then there's some people I'm like, you have to be cheating, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that are cheating, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
yes.
you have to be cheating. You just people's reaction time and accuracy it is just not up to this level.
Yeah.
Like,
Like I think it was Advanced Warfare. It's probably been 8 years at this point or so. And that was a game where it was like I went against Scump a couple times. That was like my competitive game. That was
yeah,
right getting into college. I was 18. It's like this is the game. This is my game. And now it's
yeah,
like this is not my game.
yeah. We'll wait until Modern Warfare 4 slows everything back down again.
They're gonna go to a snail's pace. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
Battlefield made it a month before it died. Let's do the same thing. Please,
yeah,
no, don't do
yeah.
that.
But yeah, that's the other thing is that there's plenty of games and movies and whatever else since I've been doing this for. I got my staff contract in 2015, and so I've been doing videos ever since then. And so yeah, a lot of game time gets lost to making ball videos. So it's regrettable.
Hmm.
I have regressed, but there's a lot of stuff that I've finally gotten to play. I finally got around because I used to play I'm a big fan of the old God of War games,
Oh yeah.
and God of War 2018. I did not play that until a couple years ago, and then I finally got around to Ragnarok. I finally got around to playing the Final Fantasy VII remake and some other stuff, and stuff like Hollow Knight that's kind of fun. And then I'm trying to get into Elden Ring, but that's not really my
I
kind
couldn't
of
do
game.
it.
I the stuff like that, it just the medieval kind of games like I do kind of like Dark Souls, those games a little bit, but like Ninja Gaiden on Xbox, that and Ninja Gaiden 2 was my jam. And then yeah, Elden Ring's kind of hard to get into, but other stuff like that, like the RPGs, and then some of the first-person shooters. I don't get too far out of Call of Duty and Overwatch. I'm not into Fortnite or Apex Legends or anything like that. But
Fair.
yeah, we could talk video
Oh,
game stuff for.
a long time. Yeah, let's I said let's go to questions and then we just
Yeah,
woo,
I know, right?
other way. I didn't see too many questions, I don't think. Tyran said, I would also really like to see a Rosahl class on bowler etiquette for a lot of these younger bowlers that have never seen it or older bowlers that have forgotten it. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Talk about the new PBA game. I have not touched it.
Yeah,
No.
I'm sorry, but that's not going to be.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a.
That's not going to be one of my things. The wife just got home. Let me make sure the door's shut so dogs don't escape here.
All right, sounds good. Let's see what else we got. Tyran, meanwhile, all of us pushing 60 are feeling extra old. Oh, Chris, do you think the radical no doubt is good for burnt lanes? Probably more transition than burnt lanes. It's a little bit of that like middle ball. It's a shiny, like stronger sim ball. So it's probably going to fit more there. Brent, ooh, that's a good question. For Luke, is there a good ball that he has for both left and right hand? And is it called the Storm Pro Motion or not?
Yeah, that is probably the best one. I have not. There's not been a whole lot of balls that I have thrown both lefty and righty. The Idle Synergy is now one of them, and it's kind of older Storm stuff. The DNA, definitely the ProMotion. That's one that I threw a lot. I really like that right-handed, and I've had 2 or 3 of them lefty, so that's probably the one. I really like the Summit left-handed. I drilled one of those right-handed, and I haven't really thrown it a whole bunch yet, but that's one that I would think I would like with both hands. And there are some newer ones. I think I would really like the Black Widow Mania right-handed. Haven't drilled one of those yet. A Theorem, definitely stealth mode. But then there's some other stuff that I drilled right-handed recently since I've been drilling on my stuff. I think I'd really like that Danger Zone Purple Ice lefty. I think that'd be a good lefty ball. So
Here, let's get you in before we end things. Let's get you into a true ZVL bowling stream and get you a question that we see all the time from Mike. I have the Black Widow Dynasty, the Alert, the Craze Tour Pearl. Should I get an Unreal Solid or a Serpent? The Black Widow Dynasty, Alert, Craze Tour Pearl.
the Unreal Solid would fit between the Dynasty and the Alert. It's kind of, it is kind of earlier, smoother, rounder like the Dynasty is. The Dynasty is very controlled. I think the Unreal Solid is very much in that just a symmetric version of that to a certain extent. The Serpent would be more like what I actually did kind of compare the Serpent to, if you knock the shine off of it, it shapes a ton like the Black Widow 3.0. So the original 3.0, not the Dynasty.
Oh.
But if you wanted to have something kind of complement the Dynasty, then I would probably go Serpent. But if you want something, and there's actually, because the Alert's so crazy, there's not that big of a gap between the Alert. Now on paper, there should be. On paper, it should be like Alert's down here in like IQ Tour territory, and then the Dynasty's up here. Yeah, you could have that Unreal Solid that's kind of in the middle in Phase 2 idle territory. But the Alert really reaches up pretty far. So if you want something, and that's the other thing too, is that the Unreal Solid, you kind of have Black Widow Dynasty that's kind of earlier, smoother, rounder. Then you'd have the Unreal Solid that's earlier, smoother, rounder. And then you'd have the Alert that has a little bit more shape than that. The Serpent would be the most different versus what you have. But I also tell people, it's like, well, I want to have a complete arsenal. And it's like, well, why are you going to buy stuff that you're not going to throw just to say that you have all your bases covered on paper? And that's the other thing that, you drill a bunch of bowling balls and it's like, okay, what do I take? And so I've really backed off into, I want to take all this stuff and I want to throw the new hotness and I want to throw this ball or that ball, but I'm just going to take what scores now, which means that most of the time, a lot of stuff's not going to go. So probably, what do you think you would throw more? Do you want the idle Phase 2 type of ball, or do you want something to kind of complement your Dynasty and be a little bit longer, sharper than that?
Man, you would struggle in these streams in some nights. Now do that another 125 times in a 2-hour span.
Yeah, and that's why I told the guys on the Swag podcast the other night. It's like, there are no short answers with me because I'm on the spectrum somewhere. I don't know exactly where I'm at, but I'm on there somewhere, and there are no simple questions. Everything connects to something else, and most of the time I'll get so far off track and chase so many rabbit trails we won't even get back to the right spot. But if you ask me a question, be sure that you're prepared for the answer. But yeah, that's another thing, is sometimes I get on streams and it's kind of like, okay, we've been going for 3 hours now, and I could still talk for another 3 hours or whatever. So it's yeah.
No, that's totally fair.
I actually lost my voice after a stream. I was streaming for, I think it was one of the report card streams or something like that, and I was on there for 4 solid hours, and then I just could not talk the next day.
Yeah, there was one of your streams you did, I think, when you were ranking like which ball was bad from last year, and you went through every brand.
That was it. That was the 4-hour stream.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about all the bad bowling balls.
Yeah, I saw the timestamp. Like, mother of God, what is happening? That is insane.
Because I think, okay, well, we've got this many bowling balls to get through. I'll spend a couple minutes on each ball, and then we would get questions and we get sidetracked, and then some balls I'd talk for 10 minutes about, and it's like, oh, well, Great. We've been streaming for 30 minutes and I've talked about 5 balls already. This is going to go well.
Vanity said, I purposely ask questions to keep Luke's stream going.
Yeah.
Like, don't go.
Well, that's what's really interesting too, is that there's a lot of people that say, well, I drive for a living, or I like to listen to podcasts while I'm at work. And so I'm thinking, it's like, gosh, who's going to go back and watch a 4-hour stream? But if you drive for work, or you've just got an earbud in or whatever else, people actually like the longer stuff. We went from people wanted short stuff because they don't, they wanted you to get to the point because they didn't want to spend however long watching a video. And then we got into the longer form stuff because people wanted more in depth, they wanted more information, they wanted whatever else. And then we have the TikTok brain rot stuff where people can't pay attention for more than 10 seconds. So then we went back the other direction. Now we're back into everybody likes podcasting. And so a stream like this, somebody might, where I would never conceive of sitting down, it's like, I will go on a podcast, and if somebody watches this, awesome. And it's great that there's been so many people in here. But it's like, I'm not going to sit down and watch a 2.5-hour podcast later. I'm glad that some people are interested in it. I wouldn't do it. But a lot of people say it's like, yeah, the longer the better. Because it's like, well, I get through one and it's, well, that's 2 hours. That's cool. But I've still got 3 or 4 hours left of driving or left in what I'm doing. And so I need to switch over to something else. So
I was like, I don't know if you've seen Brad and Kyle's latest vlogs are reaching an hour on some of them. Like their first couple were an hour. And I asked Mike Flanagan, I was luckily able to do some stuff with him for Inside Bowling when he was in Waterloo. Like, what is going on? And it's people watch it though. He's like, yeah, it's like going to get to 100,000 views. Like people want the long form stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And so things are kind of coming back my way a little bit. And so if I do spend forever talking about something, people find it interesting.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Sure.
So.
All right, I think we'll end it with Always Dead, who threw in a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Interested on both of your thoughts regarding the C300 Piranha, the Ethos Solid, or closer to the Swag Gear now, or are closer to the Swag Gear now with their smoother shapes. Ooh.
Okay, regarding the Ethos Solid or closer to the Swag. Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting about the about the swag stuff and about smoother stuff is that we have, for a while everybody was chasing Storm, the long and fast, and Motive finally hit on something with the Nebula where it's not just, oh yeah, that's flippy for a Motive ball, it's actually flippy, and it's good too. They've had flippy balls, but they've sucked. Now they really have something in the Nebula. And Brunswick stuff is the strong sharp company. And so, but the problem is now we're seeing at the US Open where people are throwing, they can't throw urethane, so they're throwing chalked up plastic balls to keep the ball in front of them. Because it's interesting how the bowling industry has kind of chased its tail. It's like they figured out how they could monetize bowling with the equipment game. And so then you make stronger balls. Well, now we have more oil. And so then you make stronger balls and we have more oil. And then now it's like, okay, well, stronger balls aren't enough. We have to have bigger rev rates. And now we have two-handers all over the place. And so we're ending up with the opposite kind of problem where it's like, okay, well, everything is super strong and it's really flippy, but now you have two-handers and 500 rev rates all over the place and they can't control anything. And so now we're throwing chalked up plastic balls at the US Open because we can't use urethane. And so now stuff like the Piranha or like the new Pulse or like the Ethos Solid, which I was kind of, that's another ball I was kind of disappointed with at first until I figured out it's like, okay, just let it shine up and pipe it down the dish. This is a perfect lefty ball. This is amazing. And that's kind of what the swag stuff does now too. And that's why I was telling Cliff, I'm like, well, the covers could be better. They could. The new additive is great. I think you'll notice a difference between the Unreal Solid. Even if you still don't really like the Unreal Solid, you're going to notice a difference between it and the other stuff that you've thrown without the additive. And I said, you can still make some progress, but it's not a bad place to be in, having stuff that's cleaner and more controllable, because that's what all the big rev rates are looking for now. That's why the Purple Hammer has been such a problem. And we have a bunch of, I'm sure that you've got some people from overseas in your Discord too, but we've got several people from Sweden and other places that are like, yeah, it's just a Purple Hammer fest over here all the time because the rev rates are so high and there's oil and everything's flat. And so now I think people are looking for stuff like the Piranha, the Ethos Solid, the swag kind of stuff that's more controllable. So I don't know if that answers the question, but
Mhm. I think so.
yeah, I think smoother stuff, it is working out in a certain kind of way, and I think that's why Brunswick is starting to make a lot more stuff that doesn't have HK in it.
Yeah, that was something they brought up. I went to one of their seminars in, I think it was November. It was right when the Zero Mercy was about to get announced. And they had a seminar for pro shops. And our Brunswick rep in the area pushed pretty hard, like, hey, we're trying to make some smoother shapes because surfaces are only getting older. We're not getting any new ones in.
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is way too strong, way too angular. So we're trying to make some smoother, cleaner stuff that's going to be a little bit better for the average bowler. And then Storm comes out with this tournament collection, really
Yeah.
no angular bowling balls in the bunch. And if you look at a lot of their past stuff, they don't have a ton of skid snap in their lineup because
Yeah.
they push over and over. Origin EX, I remember very vividly, they said,
Mhm.
we need something that's going to be cleaner, but also smooth down lanes. So yeah, I think we're getting to that point, and that's where, yeah, if Swag is like that. I'm not an expert at all. I haven't thrown any of their stuff, much
Yeah.
of their stuff, but with that, that's something that a lot of the companies are going to probably try to chase a little more because we're not going to get new surfaces in the US anytime soon. That's way too expensive for a bowling center.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the other thing too. And Storm has said that we're trying to build cleaner stuff, something like a Rockstar Amped. They're focusing on cleaner stuff because a lot of lane surfaces are 35, 40 year. We're about the 40-year mark, 40, 45 years since synthetics came out, but probably closer to 30, 35 years since they really took over. But they're so durable that it's like, well, they're not getting beat up, they're getting tracked out. And it's like, well, we can put more oil on them. Do we really? They don't need to replace the lanes like um, with wood lanes. It's like they had to resurface them every once in a while, and you got to a certain point where you get down to the nails, you get down to your last resurfacing cut, and you had to replace the lanes. Well, synthetic lanes are so durable. Like I got a sheet they gave me a lane panel from Jayhawk Bowling Supply that just, yep, thank you, light back on, yeah, and, but that stuff is ridiculously hard. Just cutting a 6 by 10 foot section out for a table, I had to recharge my saw battery 3 times to get through that because that stuff is so hard, and I probably burnt the saw blade up too. But they don't have to replace the lanes for because it would just be reaction. And it's like, if I'm a bowling center owner, it's really hard to replace lanes that are in great condition, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to see a lot of stuff coming back the opposite direction. We are going to still see more oil, but more oil means you still got to dig through it, but you got to dig through it in a different way. But people have gone to more weaker balls with more surface because they have all these big rev rates now. And so yeah, it's going to get weird here the next few years, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right, we are about 30 minutes over. So first of all, Grumpa, huge thank you for the $5 super chat as well. I hope Luke and Zach continue doing this. Love these two gentlemen scholars. Thank you so much. This probably will not be the last time you see something like this. But before we head out, Luke, where can we find you? You have any plugs that you want to give? Floor is all yours.
Yeah, I'm not a big social media person, so I do have Luke Rosahl Bowling on Facebook that I'm going to try to put more effort into. We do have our breakdown pair group on Facebook. That's probably where we spend the most of our time. I don't know if Nico Pujar is in your.
Oh yeah.
He's pretty active. He keeps things hopping for us in the breakdown pair. I do have my Discord server. I've got that's linked. My Patreon Discord server that's linked. I do have a free side too, so if you just want to come hang out on the free side of the Discord, or we do have a lot of stuff going on the member side if you're interested in that. But it's mainly just kind of Facebook and YouTube. Again, like you said, Twitter or X or whatever the crap it is, it got crazy. I don't do that. I kind of more surf on Instagram more than anything.
Yeah.
Cats. I probably shouldn't say the kind of dance that they're doing. But cats dancing on Instagram is freaking hilarious. Cats doing a dance that Snoop Dogg might do on the AI stuff is hilarious.
Your recommended feed already scares me.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy, but yeah, just mainly YouTube stuff. I probably should get into the TikTokies, but YouTube, Facebook, that's where you can find me. And then of course my you have different sponsors, so I will respect your sponsors. And you can find my stuff on my channel. So
absolutely. And that is linked in the description of this video. Make sure to go subscribe. Check if you aren't. Sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people. Go check, go hit the sub button. It's completely free of charge. No problems, no nothing there if you do that. But otherwise, I do want to thank everybody from all 4 platforms that are here today. Really appreciate all of you. We had a lot of people hopping in. Luke, massive thank you to you for taking 2.5 hours of your night to come hang out and talk all things bowling. Really appreciate it. We are definitely not going to make this the last time that it happens.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and for everybody that's I think it's cool that you give me the time of day, and I talk to Hutch every once in a while too, and he's like, oh, you're my hero and everything, and it's like, well, I think it's cool that you talk to me because I really like what you do. I like what he does. I like what a lot of other people do, and so it's cool to me to be involved, even though I'm I've been a YouTube guy for a while. It's still cool going the opposite direction too. So
100 all the time. Yeah, I gotta get in contact with Hutch in some way.
Yeah.
But we will end that first of all on TikTok. Thank you guys so much for hopping in. Really appreciate it. We'll see you guys again next week. Otherwise, there's videos every single day, so make sure to check those out. See you later, TikTok. All right, now we're left with just the long form platforms. So that is it. Thank you guys so much for hopping in. Tomorrow, we have a Nationals guide for you guys. That is going to be talking about lane play, one thing that gets severely ignored at Nationals, and it's more important than the balls you bring, are how you break the lanes down. Because if you try just playing wherever you want, you are going to suck. Luke, as a guy who's cashed at Nationals, probably agree with that. Need to play as a team a little bit. Some way, shape, or form. So be ready for that. But otherwise, thank you guys all so much for hopping in today. Really appreciate it. And I will see you all on the next one.